Court will please come to order. We've got a quorum present. All of our legal notices have been duly posted, and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to end the June term?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion to open the July term?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Beautiful. Please open court.
All rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session. The Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation will be given today by a guest of Commissioner Mike Cantrell.
Judge, Commissioners, it's my honor today to introduce Connie Jones, one of our very own. She is the Civil and Family Operations Manager in the District Clerk's Office. She holds a bachelor's degree in Business Administration, an Executive Master of Business Administration, and a Master of Theological Studies. She has over 30 years of employment with Dallas County, including an extensive background in managing court operations for the County Clerk Civil Courts, as a court coordinator for County Court at Law No. 2, and a civil process supervisor. She is married to Tony Jones. They are members of the Beth Eden Baptist Church under the leadership of Dr. Clarence Preston. She serves as the church clerk, announcement clerk, and is active in the jail ministry. Her and her husband enjoy international travel. Connie, thank you.
Let us bow for a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning thanking you for being God Almighty. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity and privilege to call on your holy name. Lord, we recall your word that says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thy own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Lord, I'm asking for direction, wisdom, and your divine blessings today for the commissioner members, for Judge Jenkins, Commissioner Daniels, Commissioner Cantrell, Commissioner Price, and Commissioner Garcia, as they address the business concerns that are before this court. Lord, we ask for your blessings upon every elected official, officer, and staff of Dallas County. Lord, we thank you for hearing our prayer that is in accordance with your will. We claim them all in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen, and thank God.
Amen. Thank you.
And I have our first resolution today. And our resolution is for our employees of the month. If you are an employee of the month, will you please come forward? And our employees of the month are Nikish Greer in Criminal Justice, Sinitria Hearn in Health and Human Services, Cass Kanabati in Information Technologies, Ophelia Munoz in Justice of the Peace number 4-2, Tyler Decker of the Marshals and Security Service, Audrey Moore of Public Works, Marcia Wade from the Sheriff's Department, Matthew Miller from the Sheriff's Data Management Unit, Janet Singleton from the Sheriff's Inmate Programs, John Richardson from the Sheriff's Inmate Programs, Paul Lee from the Sheriff's Traffic, Hector Zambrano from Tax Office, and Melissa Ramos from the Treasurer's Office. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas Dallas County employees are hardworking, dedicated, and play a vital role in achieving the goals and objectives set forth each year by the Commissioners Court. Most employees perform above expectation and ensure that Dallas County continues to be a regional leader and a destination of choice for residents and businesses. And whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court authorized the creation of the Employee Recognition Program in 2012 to encourage recognition of dedicated employees who represent the best and the brightest of our workforce. And whereas the Dallas County Employee Recognition Program is consistent with the county's approved Strategic Vision 1.5, maintain a strong, motivated Dallas County workforce. Specifically, the Dallas County workforce in many ways is the face of the county. It must be knowledgeable, able to perform services for which you are hired, and dedicated to helping improve the system. These employees represent the exemplar employees Dallas County hopes to recruit and retain. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby salute these selected employees for being selected as Employees of the Month for June 2016 for their respective departments, and offers best wishes for continued success at Dallas County, and I so move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you all very much.
Anyone wants to say anything?
And we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah. All right, and our next resolution is from Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Josh. And it's my privilege to recognize a very special group of women this morning. And I'm going to ask forward Annette Soto, State Chair-elect for the Hispanic Women Network, Ms. Ana Hernandez, State Treasurer and Dallas Chapter Chair, and of course, Mary Ann Callum, President of the Urban Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for being here today. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Hispanic Women Network of Texas is a nonprofit statewide organization established in 1986. Its purpose is to promote the advancement of women in public, corporate, and civic life through education, personal and professional development. Hispanic Women Network of Texas and its 11 chapters unite to celebrate the positive image and values of Hispanic heritage and women empowerment. And whereas in 1986, HWNT founders Marta Hinojosa Nadler with Southwestern Bell, State Representative Lena Guerrero, and Travis County Board of Register Amalia Rodriguez Mendoza were discussing the need for a women's organization. Entering the equation was Jim Estrada with Anheuser-Busch, who have been meeting with Mary Alice Cisneros, former council member of the city of San Antonio, Cristina Hernandez, current regional director for Region 6 of Texas, Department of Health and Human Services, and Lupe Ochoa in San Antonio. The actions that follow involve putting together a steering committee of 10 women from different geographic areas to poll their respective regions and meet in a statewide setting. The Mexican-American Legal Defense Fund, MADLEF, served as the nonprofit organization structure. Norma Cantu and Dora Tovar of MADLEF provided invaluable assistance and guidance. Whereas in early 1990s, HWNT created Latinas in Progress, which is a statewide program that strives to familiarize high school, junior, and senior Latinas with college life and the tools to succeed in their personal and professional life. Educational sessions are hosted on local college and university campuses, which provide enriched learning experiences and encourage them to pursue higher education by providing access to information, financial resources, and exposure to a university life. Whereas HWNT is proud to announce its 30th annual conference, Pearls of Wisdom, Cultivating Leaders, to be held on September 30 to October 2nd, 2016. This year, honorary chairs exemplifies the organization's mission, values, and belief that Hispanic Women Network of Texas embodies. Please join us, Dr. Elba Garcia, Dallas County Commissioner for District 4, Mary Luis Garcia, Tarrant County Clerk, and Dr. Monica Mendez Grant, Vice President for Student Life at Texas Women University, for an empowering and inspiring weekend of reflection, celebration, and visioning for the future. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and congratulates the Hispanic Women Network of Texas on their 30th-year anniversary and appreciates the great effort in helping many Latinas strive for success in their personal, professional, and social endeavors. And I so move.
And I second.
All right, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Dr. Alba Garcia. It's my pleasure to stand before you today as the state chair-elect of the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas. As mentioned, 30 years ago, a group of amazing women came together and defined the need for this organization to help promote the advancement of women and Hispanic women in particular. One other interesting fact was that 1 year after they thought this organization up, 200 women from all over the state of Texas met right here in Dallas. And that was our first state conference. With 200 women, they discussed the need for our organization, what different pillars it would be upheld, and then went back to our respective cities where we continue in 11 cities throughout the state of Texas, with over 300 women here in DFW, which we're very proud of. We are very thrilled to be celebrating 30 years of success of 100% volunteer activity. These are women that are all professionals and dedicate all of their spare time to motivating and mentoring the next generation of Latina leaders. And another key thing that was started here in Dallas was a stand-up professional development series, which is actually something that is being offered for our young professionals as well. We are very excited to continue giving back to the community for another 30 years, and we invite everyone to join us at our 30th annual conference, which is going to be held in Las Colinas this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's September 30 to October 2nd.
September 30th to October 2nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Along those same lines, I would like to take a moment, if I may, to recognize one of our own also, and that is our county treasurer, Ms. Pauline Medrano. A week ago, she was elected the president of the National Association of Latino Elected Officials.
All right.
And that goes a long way. And all of us stepping up, and thank you.
And also bringing the NALEO conference, the international conference, to Dallas in 2 years? Next year. So, hey, power, more power. Thank you, Ms. Medrano.
All right. And we have a presentation today on West Nile virus and Zika. Zach Thompson, will you please come forward?
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Be brief. Give an update on West Nile and Zika. I'll tell you what, I'm going to start out with, thanks Ryan, we'll start out with the top doc and then I'll come back and give some comments.
Thank you, Director Thompson. Good morning, citizens of Dallas County, Commissioners Court. As you all know, we're in the midst of the mosquito season. We have several concerns. The major concern that has been problematic since 2002 in Dallas County is West Nile virus. The other pending threats are related viruses in the flavivirus group. That's going to be chikungunya, Zika, and dengue. To date, in regards to Zika, in the Western Hemisphere, we have 11 confirmed cases of Dallas County residents that have had travel history to be confirmed with Zika infection. Of those 11, one had indirect travel as far as acquiring the infection through relations with one of the other direct travelers. Today, we have no local transmission of the Zika virus in our mosquito population. This next slide is our overall arbovirus surveillance report, which gives us a clear indication based on our integrated mosquito surveillance network of providers on the clinical side that are analyzing patients based on travel history and other criteria such as symptoms, and on our vector control side, where traps are being deployed across our county, and those mosquitoes are collected and analyzed for West Nile, and in the subsequent future, we'll be looking for other viral threats in our mosquitoes. So to date, in regards to Zika, we have 11 confirmed cases, and 10 pregnant females, residents with an association of Zika exposure. In regards to dengue, we have 1 confirmed case, and the same with chikungunya, those are also associated with travel. In regards to our West Nile virus, we have 0 cases, no cases to date, and we have 0 presumptive blood donors. Those are individuals that are attempting to donate blood and their blood is screened. If you donate your blood at a blood bank, a hospital, or surgical procedures or whatever, your blood will be screened for West Nile. And fortunately, to date, we have no presumptive blood donors that are positive for West Nile virus. That was our clinical update of overall viral threats in Dallas County.
Basically, if Ryan go through, we've seen an increase. We'll stay right there for a few seconds. We're still going to focus on DEET, drain, dress, Dustodon. We're still saying mosquito repellent. I want to say Dallas County Health and Human Services, thanks to the purchasing department for being able, through our grant, to be able to purchase mosquito repellent. We did not get the donated mosquito repellent that we normally receive, but we did get a small, limited amount of mosquito repellent. And so to our cities, we can probably only average maybe 10 cases. That's different than what we've been able to do in the past. Compared in previous years, we've been able to do 30 or 40 cases per city when we got the donated mosquito repellent. So I want to thank, again, purchasing. We were able to secure funding through the grant to be able to get a limited amount of mosquito repellent. Of course, anybody can always purchase and donate themselves, but we took initiative to go out and look at grant opportunities. Let's go to the next one. So Dr. Perkins went through the precautions, prevention of Zika. Again, the same concept. At the end of the day, we know that we're in mosquito season, and we'll close out because we know it's a long agenda. We want to remind out. Go ahead.
Quick, back on the other slide, quick question. I'm very pleased that we don't have any cases of West Nile yet, but that looks like more red dots than we had back in 12 at the peak of these positive traps. And I know we probably have more traps out there,
Yeah.
but
Well, if you compare it to what was last year, we saw the increase in terms of number of positive traps. So one of the things I want to commend the cities on, and Dr. Perkins already spoke to that, there's been no positive human cases. Because of the additional traps, we've been seeing more positive traps. I want to commend those municipalities who are on target in expanding their trapping capability, testing, and so our lab is testing more. But in terms of the robustness of being able to go out and do the ground spraying immediately, that's really helped us out. And so I'll meet with the cities again on Thursday. We'll look at enhanced ground spraying. But every time you've seen a positive mosquito trap, and they're spread out all over Dallas County. But if you look at our trends from last year, it's we always go to 2012. I'm going all the way back to 2002. When you look at where we were in 2002, 2011, 2012, and even last year, we've seen the increased number of mosquito traps. Let's go to the next.
and one question is like, once you find a positive trap and you hit it with that enhanced ground spray, we're not seeing the traps pop up in the same area again.
We've seen a reduction. So what Dr. Perkins has done, everybody gets credit, but Dr. Perkins, what he has done is looked at abundance as well as positive mosquito traps.
Yeah.
And so when he sees abundance, we've been able to see a knockdown in terms of the ground activity. So finally, again, we're going to remind Dallas County residents of the importance. We know, everybody becomes an expert at this time, but Dr. Perkins and his staff have been on target. I'll be in McAllen tomorrow. They'll be at a state Zika conference, so we'll see what else is going on.
I had a quick question about buying the mosquito spray. This weekend I was out and saw mosquito spray, but it had a big sign on it that said, does not contain DEET, as if that is a good thing. So when you're looking for mosquito spray, you're recommending that it be DEET or other EPA?
Always. That's always the case. We see people advertising. We got people that sell wristbands. So if it don't have DEET, we don't participate.
Okay. Thank you.
Another thing, I just wanted, while we're talking about mosquitoes, prevention and education, Dallas County Health and Human Services continues to be in the forefront for all of us that follow Mr. Thompson, the public health preparedness update. The department has been very active, not only with a presentation to different private organizations, but also with our Dallas County senior citizens, as well as the Dallas Mayor Neighborhood Conference, where Honorable Medrano and other elected officials from the city of Dallas were there, as well as the mayor. And then, what can I say, also with Dr. Daniels' town hall meeting, and with the Mexican consulate, which has, like I say many times, 600 people going through those doors every year, and Marisa Gonzalez did a fantastic job. So again, thank you, Mr. Thompson. If you just can keep us updated when the different municipalities get the deeds, so all the different organizations can go to the city and get them, that will be great. And of course, as always, thank you for the heat prevention, that you always so aware as we go into these high temperatures. We already have the first heat-related death. It can always be prevented if we check on our neighbors and our senior citizens. So with that being said, thank you for all the hard work, you and your department does.
Well, two things. I want to thank the Mexican consulate because they're getting our door hangers and our information, and they're passing it out, and they're reaching numbers that we really can't reach in our neighborhood. So I want to thank them. I want to thank Commissioner Price. That video, we're getting hits based on recommendations. Chair of Public Health Advisory in terms of our video is online in terms of Zika awareness. And again, we get a lot of calls from around the state. And again, we'll be in McAllen tomorrow talking about Zika prevention.
We already have also the air conditioning program going on,
we've been delivering AC units. During the holiday period, we were out filling calls and following up on our senior citizens who don't have a working AC unit. So we're getting calls all the way from Austin, where they got a loved one in Dallas that don't have a working AC.
Fantastic.
More than anything, I think, we talk about the public, but we have a workforce. And last week, some of us spent some time down in the bottoms with some of our workforce as they were doing grade alls and overlays, et cetera. And what we need to do, especially those of us who still have R&B crews, we need to send an advisory. Based on your health bill, I did send an advisory talking about the heat death that we've had in Dallas County, and reminded them to not only, especially people with medication, we've got people that's out there working, that's taking medication, and they're out in this heat. So we've advised not only the hydration, but the clothing and the fact to station a vehicle in proximity so that those individuals, especially who are taking medication, are able to retreat to that to get some relief with regard to, especially high blood pressure medicine. So.
And again, just the last piece on Zika as well as heat, as Dr. Perkins pointed out, we feel these numbers will go up in terms of with pregnant females once these numbers have been finalized by the CDC. So while he's reporting 10 confirmed based on their recommendation, we probably will see increased numbers. So I think that's the key point, is that we've been transparent. We just wait on CDC for their recommendation. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And before we go on, I want to give a special welcome to some new staff that you guys may not know yet. Actually, one is returning. Casey Snelson, my intern from Unaccompanied Minors, who walked door to door with me and helped me get the word out, is back for the summer. He's also part of that 6A state championship baseball team.
Stand up.
No, he's standing up. I'm sorry, he's back in the back in the pink shirt. Hey, Casey, we're glad to have you back. Hey, Casey. Natasha Hill is a 2L from law school. Stand up. Yay. And she is interning with me as well. He's focused on poverty access issues and is working with a variety of groups on that outside of the medical realm, access to other services, and is doing a fantastic job. And then in one of my executive slots, the slot that was held by Philip Haig, we have Emily Trube, who comes to us from KRLD and is now I guess, depending on the way you look at it, media, she's either moved from the dark side or to the dark side.
She's moved to the white side.
So we're glad to have you here, Emily.
The white side is the dark side.
And this takes us to, unless anybody's got any personal privilege or anything, we'll move to consent agenda.
No, we'll go to discussion. But anyway,
okay, discussion.
That's all right.
Does anybody have any discussion?
I know reading is not your first forte. Discussion of Southern Branch, there's nothing really to go forward with. and then nothing on countywide tax rate. But I do think it comports with strategic 1-6, and there is before my colleagues a piece that I know that I believe a majority of this court will want to transmit with regards to our position about the taxes.
Thank you, Commissioner Price. Judge, you know, June 22nd, 2016, the Dallas Morning News ran a comment story about the real surprise about tax surprises. And I feel very strongly that some of the main points were missing in that article. So working with the staff, surprise. So the real surprise about tax surprises, I asked staff to work with me to respond to this article. So the response that is in front of all of you today reads as follows. Russell Berry recently wrote a column where he expressed his concern about property taxes that area homeowners may soon be paying. We all know, we all pay taxes, and like Mr. Berry, we don't particularly like to pay higher taxes either. However, his article, which also suggested a strategy for reducing local taxes, overlooked a few details about why homeowners sometimes get surprises when they receive their tax bill, and why this surprise has not necessarily been caused by Dallas County. One of these reasons why homeowners sometimes get surprises is that there is not a legal requirement to disclose the sale price of real estate. While appraisal districts are able to use MLS information, for instance, to help determine the values of homes, there is nothing comparable for commercial properties. Since commercial properties are often listed on the tax roll at a value less than what they recently sold, this is an understatement. Has the impact of increasing the homeowner's share of the local property tax base. Another reason why homeowners get surprises is because the state is increasingly shifting what we were once state responsibility to local government. In Dallas County, for instance, we now spend over $11 million a year on services that the state is supposed to provide. Similarly, we are all aware of how often the state method of financing public schools have been constitutionally challenged on how 50% of the homeowner's local property tax bill is now for education. Mr. Berry has suggested that to help combat this situation, counties should provide a homestead exemption for homeowners. We totally agree. In fact, Dallas County has not only done this for over 30 years, while many of our surrounding college counties have not, but we have also provided the maximum exemption possible. Moreover, in 2008, we became one of the few taxing entities in the area to also enact a tax freeze for homeowners over age 65. Dallas County already has one of the lowest county property taxes in the state of Texas. When one takes into account the homestead exception and the over 65 tax freeze that we offer, this rate becomes even lower. It becomes the second lowest in the entire state. And because of this and the county's consistently prudent financial strategy, Dallas County taxes represent only 8% of the average homeowner's property tax bill. Mr. Berry has also suggested that local governments, including Dallas County, lower their tax rates so that they will take in the same amount of money as they did the previous year. Such a technique is called setting the rate at its effective rate. What this strategy fails to take into account is that government experiences the same increases in prices as a family or a business. Our costs for food, electricity, healthcare insurance, cars, roof repairs increase just like everyone else. If our costs were constant, the annual setting the tax rate at the effective level will have a great deal of appeal. Unfortunately, however, this is not the world in which we live. It should be also noted that people usually only talk about utilizing the effective rate when values are increasing. They do not do so when values are failing, because the effective rate is used during such times, then the tax rates will actually go up. As an example, in 2010, the county tax base began falling. It fell to such a large degree that 5 years passed before it returned to what it had been in 2009. Yet, only one time did the county raise its tax rates. It thought it could have done so numerous times if it had chosen to rely exclusively on the effective rate to set its fiscal policy. We really appreciate Mr. Berry's concern over the level of taxes. The experience of other communities in the U.S. with disproportionately high taxes is not one that we wish to emulate here. We also compliment Mr. Berry for wanting to make sure that our government and our schools will be able to provide the services we need as an expect. As we are also aware of what the futures have been for others who cannot fix their roads, make their neighborhoods safe, or educate their children. However, if Mr. Berry and others are concerned about their total property tax bill, their focus should not be on whether their Dallas County tax bill will be $27 or $32 larger than last year, which is really the only difference between us and some of our fellow Commissioners' Court members. It should instead be on the state legislature and on what it does, and of course, what it doesn't do. So, thank you, Josh, colleagues, and I will move forward to go ahead and submit this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. On taxes, I want to recognize Mayor Todd Gattell of Rowlett. You know, Rowlett took a tough hit on the tornadoes, and Todd called me this weekend and said he was going to be submitting, I think next week, to his city council a plan to do exactly what I'm proposing we do here, which is stay with the rate of our budget before May 22nd. And he'll be joining the mayor directly next to Mayor Athas in that. Also, Glenn Whitley. Now, Glenn's not from our county, but he called me this weekend to say they'll be doing the same or perhaps lower, and that means every county of our 4 county areas is either said they're doing it or, like us, is looking at doing that. And so I think it's great, and Mayor Rawlings, I want to recognize Mayor Rawlings as well. I think it's great that
Recognize them for what?
for supporting that concept and working towards moving his budget back to where it was on May 22nd and giving back that windfall. I think it's great that we're doing that and not waiting on the legislature to do it for us. We talk about homeowners, and homeowners are important, but let's not forget that in this state, 37% of people rent. But in this county, 48% of people rent. And in the city of Dallas, 57% of people rent. Now, last year, a 2-bedroom apartment only cost that's pretty expensive, but it cost $986. And on average this year, it's gone up to $1,101. And a big reason for that, according to the Apartment Association, the Greater Apartment Association, or the Apartment Association of Greater Dallas, I think is their correct name, is the increase in taxes, which of course they pass on to those renters. That's particularly important because if you think about a single parent in an apartment, in order for her or him, if it's whoever that parent is, to work for 40 hours a week and only have 30% of their income go towards of their adjusted gross income go towards rent. Last year, they needed to make nearly $19 an hour in order to do that, and that's what the poverty experts tell us is the maximum you want to see people spend on rent. This year, we're going to be approaching about between $20 and $21 an hour for that. Well, we know there's a lot of people in Dallas County that aren't making $20, they're heads of household alone, but aren't making $20. So the plan I'm proposing gives what Ryan is now telling me is a 6% increase to our employees in wages, 5 to 6%, not 8 or 9%, but 6%, which is more in 1 year than the middle class got over the last 5. Fully funds our priorities and gives back that windfall to those who need it at a time when they need it. And we must remember that last year they saw their taxes go up 7.58% as far as their burden. Taxes work in two ways, as Dr. Garcia has pointed out. When the economy goes down, the government has a tendency to raise taxes like our predecessor court did in 2010. When the economy is up, government has a tendency to leave the rate where it is and reap the benefit of those those increases in appraised value. But this year we're seeing a very unusual curve, because in past years the curve has gone towards the higher end properties. But this year the burden falls on properties below $250,000. And we're seeing the highest apartment rentals outside of New York City, the highest increases, higher than San Francisco, here in Dallas as a percentage this year. We just have not seen that before. So it is unusual, I will grant you, that someone who is as far to the left as I am is talking about a tax decrease. But the reason for it is the people who are being hammered by this are the people who are very least able to afford it, with no elasticity in their budgets, because they are at the bottom of the curve of incomes.
Apparently in Highland Park, y'all do a different math, because the math she just did between the 27 and 30 is only $5 and something. Don't judge, you can dazzle them, try to dazzle them with, you can baffle them with that other stuff. And at the end of the day, you heard us say, 2008, it was, I happen to be one of those individuals who did not support it, but $11 million, 3% this county gave, when none of our others, including Fort Worth, nobody else in the region did that. Dallas County works on the margins, and we left $11 million on the table with regards to that. Number two, only time we've ever raised taxes around here, basically I've been here 30 years, we've reduced taxes at least 6 times. We've only raised taxes, I think, about 10 times. And the rest of the time it's been on par. Is that correct? That is correct. So, this county has been the most frugal in the dadgum state, especially for our size. We're the second largest. And we've talked about our workforce. We've hired outside consultants who are telling us that, on average, we're 20% behind market. Well, some of us have employees in that same market study that says we're 25 to 28% behind. Is that correct, Mr. Graham? Okay, so, the fact is, so we're giving them 6%. If the opportunity presents itself, we're on par with the national average, basically with turnover in Dallas County. But that's because, again, when you look at that national average, look at the difference in the age of the workforce. Ours is 44 and a half years. That's a different kind of investment than this so-called millennial workforce that continues to cycle and all. There's a difference. And so, you continue to try, to confuse the fact. It was interesting when you talked about earlier with the employee, strategic vision 1.6. Well, one of the things that helps maintain that workforce is, the benefits, the retirement, to which Dallas County invests about $100 million. And so, and what's interesting, and it says county-wide tax workforce, so I'm going to I'm going to segue into where we're going next. You know, even with the city of Dallas, with the increased value, they're $19 million in the hole. You know, and we got another presentation coming up at 11 o'clock with the increased value, and we over $100 million in the hole. So, you know, if you take your proposal and try to bowl down that alley, you think we got trouble now? You know, I mean, they'll really have trouble. So I think that what you're doing is trying to paint a lie. People who have been extremely frugal, you know, with the taxes and how we're moving forward. We've managed extremely well, and that I still say that package of cigarettes. That's the difference. And what's interesting to me is you say, well, you know, we've got these renters, as though we cut $5 or $7, and they're going to pass that along to the renters. Really? You think? And that's not the problem. Like I said, all of us, as Dr. Garcia said, you know, we're paying these taxes. We'd love to see some of our city taxes and school taxes. But even when I deal with the school and the city taxes, you know, it's a little different in, like I said, in Dallas than in Highland Park. But in Dallas, you know, that $175 that I'm paying for my increase on my DISD taxes, well, I want them to be able to keep it. That's $175 based on where we are. I want them to be able to retain that. I'm not willing to do that kind of so-called offset. So I mean, you know, I hear that. I understand why Rowlett. I mean, and don't confuse the public. We know why Rowlett is reducing the taxes. The tornadoes, the values are down.
No, they're talking about reducing the rate, not just the values. The way that works is they've already voted to take the values back to where they were on January 1 with the tornadoes. So the people who got hit by a tornado got that benefit.
Right, next
for last time.
Are they going to the effective rate?
No.
And they're going to something in between.
No.
Okay. Well, Judge, you know, I've got the tax rates here. In 2010, we were at 22.81 cents, just like we were in 09 and 08. In 07, we increased it from 21.39 to 22.81. But if you just take your example of what you're wanting to do, if you want to have real savings and affect real people, you can't keep the same tax rate last year, keep the same, and reduce it down just a little bit this year, 0.31 cents, because that pretty much equates to a 15% increase.
Over 2 years.
Well, that you'd be voting on even for this year. In other words, if you don't go back to the effective rate, you're basically taxing people an additional 15%. So you can't hold it at the existing rate. You can't hold it at 24 if you just go after the 7.5%. You have to take it back to the effective rate to have some real impact. So that's why clearly the effective rate is going to be probably the best way to go.
Well, I'd like to, I appreciate your thoughts on that, and I'm open to listen to anyone's thoughts on reducing my position is to reduce it back to where we were on May 22nd.
Which should be 24.00 instead of 24.31 cents.
Well, with you guessing
Everybody's having to use it. We're all using the same numbers.
Right.
We're all using the same numbers until July 28th.
Right.
25th.
So not equivalent with your numbers, just pointing out that right now we're using guesstimates. But I want to point out a couple of things about those budget hole numbers. I think it's even more laudable that Dallas is looking at doing this with the many needs that they have. You point out the $19 million hole that they are going to be able to fill and hopefully get this done as well. And then
That's with 7.5%.
with 7.5%, the number they're now looking at, which is the number I'm proposing here. But the thing, and I love Parkland, and we've got a great team at Parkland. But if you believe we have here's the $100 hole at Parkland.
100 million.
the $100 million hole at Parkland. That is depreciating a $1.3 billion hospital over a 13-year period. If you think we're going to scrape that hospital off of the parking lot and build a new one in 13 years, then that's a good number. Now, clearly, we're going to have to do some work in Parkland, replace some X-ray machines, do some things over the 13 years. But the number that we actually are going to be out there is far less than that. And if you just use a more realistic approach there, then that number balances. No question, though, I agree with all of you that if the appraisal rates went up 50 or 100% and we could collect that money, we still couldn't see all the people that need help at Parkland. Dallas still couldn't fill all the potholes that are out there on the streets. The county could give their employees an even bigger raise. But that we have to balance all of those concerns with the people that are out there making ends meet. And I don't want to personalize it. I'm not attacking any of you. I think you're all good managers and good people. It's a matter of, in this year, based on what I saw last year with the heavy burden, we talk about leaving taxes at the same rate, but as Commissioner Cantrell and I are pointing out, the rate may stay the same, but if someone is having to pay an additional $400 in taxes this year, then the rate may stay the same, but they don't have the $400 to pay in taxes. Commissioner Price would point out, well, that's just a small part. That's Dallas County, because
We're not talking about the same thing. So
you've got the city, and you've got the schools, and you've got others, and you've got unfunded mandates, and there are always reasons not to do it. Okay, there's the needs that we have here. There's other people who put you in the situation with an unfunded mandate. There's a vote that people didn't agree on that was taken in 2008. There are always reasons, and I appreciate all those reasons, and they're all good reasons. But at the same time, I think the middle class needs our help, and I'd like for us to keep an open mind to seeing what we can do to help them with tax relief this year.
Well, let's keep an open mind. I agree with you, because we won't receive any idea of very specifically what we're talking about until July the 25th. But that also means, as being good stewards, as so often has been mentioned by members of this court, that we're looking not only at short-term but long-term, what's going on and how that does impact not only all residents of Dallas County, but also how we do business in the county. Looking at my own personal budget and what I have to do when there's fluctuation in both income and expenses, you have to take into account costs that were deferred in the past and how you have to make it up as you go along. So it is more of a long-term look that is our responsibility in sitting in these chairs today. And so I would like to suggest that even though there is absolutely no doubt that I would like to give everybody a tax decrease, I would like to receive a tax decrease, but you still have to keep into account what, on the long term, where are we headed, and what is our responsibility to everybody. But I would like to just let's kind of tone it back a little bit until we do know. What are we talking about here? Because that still is greatly in flux. As you've already noted, that earlier there was the anticipation that we would have a little bit more income than what's being looked at now. There are a lot of factors that go into that. So as much as I am in sympathy with the discussion, let's hold off a moment and just see where we're going to go with this with real live numbers.
Well, I think
Sounds like a good plan.
the reason I'm going to keep it on the docket, and the reason I am, again, coming up today with parking, this is still, you can say what you want to, and you plan those strange depreciation numbers. that's not Parkland's problem. That depreciation is not Parkland's problem. That 100 million plus is real. Has everything to do with increased services, 18%. I'm still talking county taxes. 18%. It has increase in delivery, 70% Medicaid. It has everything still to do with real numbers, and we'll discover that at 11 o'clock. And there is no way you're going to be able to tweak that when you begin to talk about reducing the rate. Now, I'm not for any increase, and I'm for better management, but I've been saying that for the last 4 or 5 years, and talking about Parkland.
No question, there are
I'm talking about the county tax
tons of needs at Parkland, and we've got Medicaid challenges at
You
Parkland.
got supplemental challenges.
You've got a larger healthcare environment nationally and in Texas, and with public-private hospitals, that's really impacting that.
Right.
You've got things going on with the
We're still
legislature
talking
and
county tax rate.
the
We're
school
still talking county tax rate.
You've got a lot of other environmental things going on.
We're still talking county tax rate.
One thing that we haven't talked about is making cuts. In other words, I think, yes, our workforce needs an increase, and I think we can get to those increases by making the necessary cuts that need to be made. So, that's just something on this side of the agenda that hadn't really
Have been
populated
there.
up.
I agree. And let's not forget one thing, guys. At the end of the day, if we really want to help the working class, let's start in our backyard with our employees. We know, and we pay over $200,000 study that shows our employees, and the fact that we cannot retain the younger workforce is because we're 15% over the median that we set ourselves in salaries. And while I am opposed to elected officials getting salary increase, and I will vote against that, let me just remind you guys that leaving money on the table when Dallas County has the second lowest property taxes in the state of Texas, 254 counties. Yes.
Sixth lowest.
The sixth lowest, second in the urban counties. At the end of the day, the second lowest in
large
urban.
urban counties.
Yes.
If you add in all of our exemptions, you get to the second in the state.
Exactly. So,
But we can do those increases without raising taxes.
correct.
We can do it through cuts.
I don't want to do more cuts on this lesson. Well, at this point, I am concerned about implementing a study that I paid $200,000 to perform. We've been working on how to retain, how to attract a better quality workforce. With that in mind, $5 in a tax break for a year in accounting taxpayers. Come on, guys, it's not even a Starbucks in one Starbucks in your whole year. So, with that being said,
I eat a cigarette pack. I don't do either one of them.
I don't either, but with that being said, $5 when your main bill comes from education, ISDs, come on guys, what are we talking here about? We have been prudent, we have been very conservative, we're working in moving Dallas County to better buildings, to better infrastructure. What people really want is a better quality of life, George, and hey, I hate to say it, but we'll have to pay for it. With that being said, I will keep my open-minded till July 25th.
Any other comments on that?
Even the cost cuts, right? I didn't think so. Okay. It's half open.
I do,
Okay. All right.
if there's any other comments on tax rate or taxes, I've got a couple of, a little bit of information on Sam Branch, since that's on our agenda. We had a meeting on June 29th. It was a good meeting. We had, I think, I don't have the number here, but it looks like we had about 7 local and state and federal partners at the meeting. One of the things that we looked at was a large piece of property in the city of Dallas that is owned by the city of Dallas, but it's in the unincorporated areas where there was a lot of tires, and there was a well that was contaminated. The city's made great strides in cleaning that area up. Also in getting some animals that their former tenant had off of the area. and expect to have all of the animals removed possibly by today, but are making good, good moves there. By July the 8th, we're going to have information from the county to the feds and information from the feds to the county.
The county, yeah.
And I don't have on my notes what that is, but what I will do, are all the commissioners getting the update things, or just Commissioner Price?
I think all the
No,
commissioners
I
are
got it.
Oh, you're all getting, okay, so everyone knows that then already. So it was a good meeting. On the question of water, I wanted to read one thing while we're here. The USDA person was on a vacation, so he gave us a short little email of where they are, and I think it's very encouraging. And it says, search grant / all materials have been submitted to our state office in Temple for review. Sam Branch has selected an engineering firm, Jacob & Martin, that is extremely familiar with our requirements for engineering reports and environmental reports. The entity organizational documents are at our Office of General Counsel being reviewed. This should be a formality, as Sam Branch Development and Water Supply Corporation followed some templates we provided them. After the entity review is complete and approved, the agency should be able to issue what we refer to as letters of condition. This is the document that essentially secures the funds and ensures payment to the engineer for the completed studies. We don't pay the engineer until the engineering report is approved by the agency. And then he talks about repair loans / grants to homeowners. Application information has been provided to key leaders within the community so they can assist homeowners with the application process. The agency is looking at a couple of dates too, where we can bring a team into the community to assist with the application process. To quote Paco Valentin, State Director of USDA Rural Development recently, we are proceeding forward in regards to providing water and wastewater services to the Sam Branch community. Onward, and 2 exclamation points. So things are looking up, I think, and the work continues there. Any other comments on that before we move to the consent agenda? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
In discussion on the consent agenda, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This next takes us to the bids, if we have some.
Got 3.
All right, let's make a motion on the bids, someone.
Second.
Commissioner Press moved, Commissioner Cantrell seconded. In discussion on the bids, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next, we have our public hearing on the Dallas County Health and Human Services Housing Choice Voucher Program Annual Public Housing Agency PHA Plan for fiscal year 2017. Is there a motion to open that public hearing?
So much.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Price, second by Commissioner Garcia.
Yep. Commissioner Price.
Amazing.
Second.
All right. And we will now have a discussion in public.
Carry.
All those in favor?
Carry. All those in favor?
Oh, I see.
Open public.
We've already voted, but I see we hadn't said it. Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll now have discussion and public comment. Go ahead.
Judge, Commissioner, this is our annual plan that's submitted to HUD. It talks about our proposed plans. This item was published in the Dallas Morning News. There were no comments regarding the proposed plan, and so we moved to accept the plan as required by HUD regulations.
And the plan is, for the record, the plan is basically...
The plan basically talks about projections over the next 5 years, goals that we will do, objectives, and then we also have our annual plan on the agenda today that kind of talks about the immediate issues that we need to put on the table now that can't wait till this is approved. And so that's why you'll see a 5-year plan and an annual plan.
Right. Okay.
Any? All right. Thank you. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Are there any public comments?
Make a
Hearing
motion.
none.
Make a motion that the hearing for the Health and Human Services Housing Voucher Plan, Annual Plan for 2017 be closed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you got it. You got it.
Okay, all right.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, next we'll have our public hearing on the Dallas County 2016 Community Development Block Grant and Home Program. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
This is the second.
Hang on, we got to take a vote, and the computer's running a little slow. All right, here we go. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Leisberg, please continue.
Thank you. This is the second of 2 public hearings that we're required to hold prior to the submission of our CDBG application for the upcoming fiscal year. We have approximately $2.2 million of new and existing money that we want to program for that new fiscal year. In addition, there's also $500,000 roughly of home funding that we've identified. We also began a 30-day public comment period at the end of June. That 30-day public comment period will expire on July 25th of this month at 4 p.m. I'm here to answer any questions that the court may have, and then certainly we can solicit any comments or input from the public as well.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. If no one has any comments from the court, and I'm not sure we can right now, are there any?
Sure.
We can?
Sure.
Okay. Anyone from the court want to say anything about that before I ask for public comments? Hearing none, is there any public comment? Any public comments on the CBDG grant and home program? Any public comments? Hearing none.
Make a motion that the hearing on the 2016 Community Development and Block Grant Program be closed.
Second. Commissioner Cantrell seconded. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll now consider court orders 1 through 54 with addendums 55 through 62, pulling 8 and 31 for a separate vote.
Wait, just,
I'm sorry, pulling something else?
yeah, you say 8 and 31, right?
That's what, yes, that's what I have in my notes, but it could be.
37 and 56.
All
So we're going
I
to do
beg your
8.
pardon.
We're going to add 8.
31, 37, and 56.
And 54.
Well, wait a minute, 56 is on the addendum.
54 for a separate vote.
Okay,
So 8,
say it again.
8, 31, 37, 54, and 56.
31,
37, 54, and 56.
37,
54.
54, and 56.
54
Right.
actually was placed on there for discussion. It actually doesn't actually have a vote until August 2nd. So I think what we'll do is we'll just have a real quick clarification.
Okay.
That when you see this on August 2nd, it'll be $200 million. It was published with $220 million, which gave us some flexibility, but we didn't really want that flexibility. So when you see it August 2nd and actually vote and take action on it, it will be for the $200 million.
Is that what you were pulling too?
Yeah.
Me too.
So, yeah.
That's freaking me out. So
you want to,
So we can pull it for tonight.
Yeah, we'll just leave
Yeah,
it.
this got placed as in the old agenda theory that we had a discussion, and then the following time we did a court order, so apologize.
I had a okay, so we have a motion and a second on that?
Just one moment.
no.
No.
Just one moment.
Okay.
Okay, now you can motion.
Move approval.
Okay, hang on, I've got a question and a comment on one of them. I think I know the answer to this, but let me just ask it. Where is that?
While you're looking, let me
go ahead.
ask about court order number 28. With regards to the virtual visits, you're showing $40 for HDP and $25 for PPO?
Co-payment.
Okay. Why would there be a difference on this, on the virtual? It's almost like in other words, we're forcing all of our employees to end up in the HDP eventually, over time. Why are we penalizing those that already have moved over? To me, that's more incentive for people to stay in the PPO. I don't understand what the strategy is on that.
The $40 is actually a reduction on average of a normal visit if you were to go to the doctor. So it's actually a reduction in the average cost of a visit.
It's not a deduction when you've already met your deductible.
Oh, when you met your deductible?
Well,
anytime you meet your deductible, everything's free anyway.
No, I understand that.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, okay, is your overall strategy not to get everybody on the high deductible plan?
Is to move toward high deductible.
Oh, it is the deal? Okay, so
Tell us again.
then why are you charging people less on the PPO than you are on the HDP? That's what I don't understand. If the strategy over a period of time is to move everybody from the PPO to the high deductible plan, this is more incentive to stay with the PPO.
Explain it, because that's not what we intended. Commissioner,
I'm just trying to understand it.
explain a little bit more of what you're saying, because that's not what we intended when we did this.
Well, actually, over a period of a phased-in approach, we'll totally get rid of the PPO plan. And I guess, again, these are just
Over what period of time?
well, hopefully by 2018 was the estimated figure based on the Affordable Care Act, was things are going to be implemented by 2018 where we possibly have 2 high deductibles, possibly as early as, not next year, but 2018, we would have both high deductible plans. As you look, this year, what happened was, with the PPO, there were some adjustments made as far as higher cost in the higher deductible, toward creating 2 high deductible plans. But the actual PPO and a high deductible is different. With the PPO, there, and this is a PBC guideline, there is a certain amount of co-payments that you pay.
Okay.
Let me track, because
I'm
I
trying
don't
to
think y'all are
explain.
talking about the same thing.
Okay, maybe not.
What we were trying to do was make it $40 for you to sit at home and be able to Skype with a doctor
For certain
things, obviously,
Right.
in keeping with the federal laws about telemedicine. But you're saying we've inadvertently penalized people on the high deductible plan by doing that?
Well, I'm saying, if there's a savings and a convenience to our employees, why are you not making that deductible?
The same as the PPO.
Yes, somebody please, because I sure didn't intend to penalize people.
No, we,
The cost of the virtual visit for anybody is $40. That's, even if you didn't have health insurance, you
Right.
could go call.
Right, even if you're not that.
Pay $40.
Right.
When you're in the high deductible plan, you pay 100% from the beginning until you reach your deductible. So the high deductible person pays the $40 that it would cost to go to the doctor, instead of $150 to go to the doctor.
Yes,
The
much
PPO
less.
person, the county pays $25 or $15, and the PPO person pays the copay, just like they would any other doctor visit.
Okay. That's
So everybody.
Does that answer it?
pays the same.
It's $40 for anybody to do a virtual visit, but in a PPO person, the
We're
plan
we're
pays
just
part of the cost
supplementing.
up front.
Which is the co-pay.
Yeah, if
Well,
if
the
a
answer-
medical person has
right.
met their
No, I
deductible,
understand. Right.
then theirs would be the same.
The part I didn't understand was it's a $40 cost.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the true cost.
Right.
Okay.
Which would be a lot less than the actual visit.
But the county pays a copayment.
No, I
On the
understand.
PPO.
But you're still subsidizing, you're still incentivizing people to be on the PPOs, but that's y'all's,
Household.
thank y'all for serving on
Because we pay the
PBC.
co-payment.
Not my intention, the household.
Well,
Well,
because the county still pays the difference. But that's, I'm off of that. If the cost is truly $40, then I'm good.
at the end of the
Judge,
day.
it's because it's a $25 copay on the PPO, so that.
So it's $15 for the people on the PPO, is that what you're saying?
$25 for the people on the
Oh,
PPO.
$25, I got you.
And $40 on the high deductible, unless they've met their full deductible, then it's zero.
I got you, because
If it
it's
wasn't
a doctor visit and it's $25.
Right.
wasn't
I mean,
a
you
true
already
$40
paid
cost,
your
then I didn't
deductible,
have
it's fine.
HCP to pay it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Okay, so it also has who can use this. What slide was that on who could utilize this?
Everybody.
Yeah.
In other words,
Opt-outs can.
well, no, opt-outs can, retirees can, and I think this is a good plan.
Mm-hmm.
But it also says that anyone can use it. In other words, anyone in your household, if they sign up under your number, okay, James, is that not correct?
No, this is a program that just exists. If you didn't have health insurance and you were just out there in anywhere, you could call up a virtual doctor. We're just tapping into it from the PEBC for it to be part of our plan, to be part of our deductibles and part of our co-pays and everything. You don't have to have health insurance at all to pay $40 to go to the virtual doctor. Anybody can do it.
Okay.
So an opt-out can do it, and their plan, wherever they're coming from, it just might not pay for it as part of their deductible.
Okay, so when you have under here who can use it, you have opt-outs, those that new hires, high deductible enrollees, family members, unrelated individuals. In other words, if they go under your ID number,
Only the people that are part of our PPO and the high deductible plan would Dallas County have any payments towards.
Okay.
It's just because
That's what I'm making sure.
anywhere
Didn't
can
create
use
a new
it,
class.
whether they had our health
So-
insurance or any health insurance.
so we're not subsidizing anybody's payment that's not a part and has an ID number.
No, it's just because anybody, regardless of
It's like
what
a
insurance
perk.
they have, can go to the virtual doctor. It's open to the whole country.
I just wanted to say thank you for putting this piece in, because it makes such good sense
I agree.
to efficiently use resources, and if we can use technology to address issues, medical health issues that are very, very routine, that can be done by telemedicine, it makes such good sense, and for us to be, in the forefront of doing this. So thank you for those who do so on the PEBC to allow this to go
I
forward.
just want to be clear, Commissioner, it's just for certain, issues.
Absolutely.
It has some regulations about the doctors, they're all in state. I mean, obviously, you might not get the same doctor all the time, but nevertheless, I agree. I think it's a good step forward when it comes to VC and a better opportunity for our employees.
It's 24 hours a day.
Yes.
365.
365.
Ryan, on Clean Air Task Force, what's the deal with the retirement between how you're budgeting commander in one part of the grant and the sergeant in the other? I looked at those numbers and
We use the fact that one of the assistant chiefs is over the entire Clean Air Task Force unit as a cash match. So, a certain percentage of their time is built into the cash match, and that's why you see it in that different thing. The grant pays for 100% of the captain, the sergeant, and the deputies in that grant. And now that it's at Jackson Street, we also have a very clean rent that we know what's to charge in there for that grant as well. So, but the grant at this point in time is paying 100% of everything.
Okay, it's just when you did the budget, when you did it.
It's just a way we've done that for a long time, where we've included various things.
It's just the retirement that jumped out.
Yeah.
It's the retirement piece, that's it. But it seems as though on the bottom half that we picked it up.
Yeah, the grant is covered.
Okay, got it.
And then I'd like to clarify in court order number 3, it's the Institute of Forensic Science, that attorney position that's included in here will be an assistant district attorney.
That was
It will be
next.
housed out at the Institute and work closely between the two departments.
And you're telling me that the positions that they put on the table will offset forensic science, and the workload is there to support it?
Yes, there are, for the 6 DNA analysis analysts there as a backlog, and by having the additional people in there, they will have billables to the cities that will cover that cost. It will take them a while to ramp up, because it's just the way that field is right now. So, but there is a bunch of, the amount of DNA analysis being done on criminal cases has dramatically increased.
Related to SWIFT also in number 7, there was a budget amendment talking about drug testing for synthetic drugs. I thought that we had already approved instrument to address that.
BHLT, we did at the BHLT.
I thought we had done it here.
This is to allow the drug treatment court programs to actually have a funding source to be able to do those testing. So it's not related
we
to
already
switching.
have the instruments, but it's just,
This is for our specialty courts and to give them some flexibility. As that K2 stuff comes around, they're always having to come up with a different test or a different drug. It just lets them have a little flexibility as they need to.
okay, thank you.
And it's more expensive.
They are more expensive. Those tests are definitely more expensive.
$480,000 instrument that we've got doing it.
Yes, there's a very expensive piece of instrument that once we have online, I think it's a little over $500,000, will actually speed it up and hopefully at the end result in a cheaper charge out. But it is a very expensive piece of instrument.
Right. But again, Swifts are doing, blood testing, and this is for, like, the urine test for persons in court for
And the
compliance with their
accuracy,
conditions.
Commissioner, in this testing is the key. They're very accurate.
Right.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Pronunciation.
That's okay.
I also like to make just a comment. We deal with a lot of serious issues here with public health, public safety, and make decisions affecting a lot of people. But I also wanted to commend staff for looking at our standard operating procedure manual and keeping those kinds of things up to date. So in fact, we can kind of keep on an even keel as far as day-to-day processing of information. So I know it's not sexy, it's not spicy, it's not anything, but it's something, those are the kinds of things that have to be maintained. So thank you, Mr. Martin and your staff for keeping us up on, and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
And another item that is probably, good to see, and probably few people will notice, is item 16, the oral history project.
Right.
Just when we get accused of not really being pro-history, here it comes. It's a project done by students, by, Dallas County. I want to thank Mr. Reed and Mr. Martin for this, because there's a lot of history that will not be in the books unless it's oral history told by the people who actually started in Dallas County. Commissioner Price, hopefully you did. And it's good to see that we're keeping this in mind for future generations.
There was an employee whose last day was last week who had worked with Dallas County for 35 years, started at the age of 17, had one job here in Dallas County, and he managed in the end Road and Bridge 2 for you, but ended up in Road and Bridge 1. But his stories, what he has seen happening in Dallas County, it's important to make note of those kinds of things. So thank you for doing that too.
Judge, one more thing here, right here. I just want to make sure that we pull item 41. The purchaser withdrew on that item for the tax force.
So let's take
that's 41.
Let me take an amendment then, a friendly amendment.
Before you move on to that, Commissioner Garcia, did you want a separate vote on number 2, which is an exception to the pager policy? Is it already?
It's already done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's
So
there.
41's in there.
41, 44, and 50. But you want an amendment pulling out
I want to pull out 41.
41, accepted. 41 is already here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she agrees.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Ms. Annie was faster than,
It's okay.
thank you, Ms. Annie.
Well, it's already in there.
Seconder
Agrees.
Seconder accepts.
So, couple of comments, just on 17, I too am glad that we're, putting everything online, making it more accessible. I want to make sure it talks about the process about revising and updating. Just in no way do we want to see the transparency policies that we passed in 2011 in any way changed. I don't know.
But they can't make changes. They can't unilaterally make changes to what's been voted on by this court.
Right. So anything that we change or that we propose to change, you actually have to approve it. In fact, you will see every red line and addition that we come up with.
I'm just telling you, before you come to us with recommended changes, that's something that we want to keep as it is. Hopefully the recommended changes will be around the margins of...
These are all the mundane things Dr. Daniel was talking about, the purchasing policies that not related to transparency, just that, we have issues around the $50,000 still reads in the policy, $25,000 the minimum. We've got to change all those things to bring them up to date. So it's a big cleanup project more than anything.
Mundane but incredibly important on how we do business.
Exactly.
And last but not least, I want to commend Jonathan Bazan for his work on 55, and many others who worked on that, but led by him on 55. He worked with members of the Space Allocation Committee and friends of theirs, and the vendor and the legal team, Judge Roden and the legal team, and saved $2.1 million on the architect contract. Got a much better contract, much better to not only save that money on the front end, but better to control cost throughout the project. And so great job. I know that took a lot of time and effort, but great job on your part to get that done.
And I echo that.
Let me, number 11, on, I'm going to vote for that today, understanding that we still have problems there with regards to, or we still have questions, unresolved issues, let me put it that way, with regards to parking, but also understanding that if something happens in the future that you may bring forward a recommendation to do some other things. So I'm going to vote for that based on that. Also, with regards to number 58, Hermit, I'm assuming that those two positions, that you're being consistent in how you're applying that, so that...
And basically what happened in these two positions is when we went back and audited and looking at the qualifications, consistency with what we've done in the past, we didn't count their experience correctly. And
Okay,
so
I just
we're-
want to make sure that, based on what we've seen in closed session, just about every week,
it's consistent.
We stay consistent. Okay.
That's why I brought it back, because we wasn't consistent in these two.
And we're glad it was cut.
And then there was one last one on miscellaneous travel. The district clerk, number A, it's not Candace Tyler, but Candace. Oh, it is correct. Candace Tyler. It's correct. No problem. We fixed it.
Okay.
It's been ready.
Okay, so any further questions on the court orders, or comments on the court orders, rather? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'll move court order 8.
Second.
Just one moment, please.
All right.
Okay.
Court order 8, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I abstain. 2 abstentions. Two abstentions, yes. Motion carries 3-0.
Move court order 31.
Second.
Okay, just one moment.
Almost 31.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Just one moment.
Okay, somebody?
31.
All right. And someone, yes, we did move on. Okay, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
And I also abstain. Motion carries 3-0 with 2 abstentions.
37 is,
I don't know who pulled 37.
I did.
You did?
It's an exemption, and I'm sorry, you know.
but I'm moving 37.
Yeah.
Second. Oh, go ahead. You got it. No, you got it.
No.
I got it.
Okay.
I moved it.
Move
You
it.
move
Second.
Right.
Huh? No, she thinks it's an exception.
Okay, I'm gonna let you do it.
I was gonna say, yeah, let me.
Yeah, it's too bad that nobody wants to do a house, especially $70,000, you know.
And would you want to explain, put this on the record so that,
Yeah, would you please,
so
Mr.
that
Nelson?
everybody understand what the
Why not,
so-called exemption is?
The county has an internal policy for the replacement housing program that a contractor cannot have more than 3 active contracts at one time. Right now, with the way the economy is, we only have 1 active contractor who's bidding. He presently has 3 jobs. We believe that by the time if the court concurs with this proposal, that by the time the notice to proceed is issued for this new project, he will be 50% through with the other 3 that he already has. He's demonstrated in the past he has incredible capacity. He's done 16 homes for us. And so operationally, it's not a problem, but it is inconsistent with present policy.
Yeah, but there are no performance issues?
Absolutely none whatsoever with this gentleman. No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an exemption.
So-
No,
Okay, I just wanted for the record.
sure, no, that's good.
All right, call the question.
Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries 4-1.
With me voting against.
Okay.
The exemption.
1 nay.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
So 54 is not on, it's 41.
41.
We do have
pulled.
41's pulled completely.
It's my understanding that the buyer
Pulled out.
rescinded.
Yeah.
54, we do have a couple of issues we need to
While
discuss.
the item is pulled and while we voted on, the Madam Treasurer would like to announce the underwriting team. That's not something we vote on either. We'll vote on that on August 2nd, but this way, there is the announcement of the team.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you. I'd like to announce the underwriting team, but I wanted to let you know that on June the 3rd, RBC Capital Marketers, on behalf of the county, issued an RFP, a request for underwriters' qualifications. The RFP requested that each firm submitted an RFQ with some basic firm banking team information, that each firm responded. The deadline for the responses on was June the 15th. The county received 14 responses. After an evaluation by the county treasurer, RBC Capital Marketers, and TKG Associates. And we've recommended that the 14 that had submitted will be in a pool. Here are the list of the firms included in the county's underwriting pool. Backstrom McCarley Berry and Company, LLC, Blaylock Bill Van, LLC, Cabrera Capital Marketers, LLC, Drexel Hamilton, Estrada Hinojosa and Company, George K. Bond and Company, Hilltop Securities, J.P. Morgan Chase, Loop Capital, Mishler Financial Group, Oppenheimer and Company Incorporated, Ramirez and Company Incorporated, Siebert Branford Shank and Company, UNB Bank. The lead firm will be Siebert Brandt Shank and Company. The co-managers will be Bankstrom, McCarley, Berry and Company, Cabrera Capital Marketers, LLC, George K. Bone and Company, and Ramirez and Company Incorporated. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
We'll work with Ms. Madrona. I'll get the list out to the entire court, so you'll have that.
56.
I'm sorry, I
56,
thought-
no, 56
No,
is,
that's 54.
I know.
56.
I think.
Is that on our
56
closed? Are we going to discuss that in
What was
closed? or-
pulled, are we voting on
56,
50?
that weird, was it?
Yeah, it's my understanding that, well,
Okay, wait, is
I
that
thought we were gonna
now
do
or is that
closed.
later? 'Cause I do want to find out what's going on.
56?
I thought we were going to deal with it in close.
Okay, are we?
I thought so too, but I couldn't.
It is in
Is
the
it-
executive session
56
too.
is the fee contract for Rebecca.
Well, no, we
Is
didn't
that gonna
accidentally
be-
vote on that,
we need to
did we?
talk about closed first?
No, it's pulled. Well, which item is it under closed?
I think it's this one.
It is on closed session.
It's either 6, 6, I think it's 6, isn't it?
I don't think so.
The salary audit positions was also under closed.
No, I
but you guys
understand
voted on
that,
them.
but which number is number 56? I couldn't slot it up, but,
Let me see. I have it.
56 does not appear to be on the closed agenda.
okay, see,
It is not on the closed agenda?
It's not. It can be moved to close if you guys want to discuss it, but
Okay, we can
Under
move to close.
personnel
I have no
matter.
problem.
Yeah, let's move it, either that or discuss it openly. I don't care which, but I do want to discuss it before we
Well, it's,
vote.
I'm okay doing it here.
I don't care, we can do it here.
So we need to get it up. I move Court Order 56.
I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
Okay, could the DA please come forward or something and explain to us this situation, or whoever wants, Ermit, somebody, tell us about this?
the request by the DA's office for a H-1B visa
Yeah,
for,
this is, and I gotta say,
for
what I
the
want to
staff
say,
attorney.
I'm looking in my book. My book says exception to the Demonopoli District Attorney's Office,
the
and I got it on
The
close.
motion?
No, the demotion, this is
thought
about
that's
the
a
person with
separate issue.
EB-5, I mean, not the.
Yeah, this is H-1B visa.
HB1 visa.
Wait a minute.
Okay. He says that.
And this is coming out of hot check money, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
So there's no financial impact to the general fund, but, okay.
Kendall Castello, Dallas County District Attorney's Office. This will be paid for through the Hot Check Fund. This was an H-1B visa that was done previously a year ago for an employee of Dallas County. It basically allows someone who's international to come to the United States and work because they have a special skill set. We moved forward on that.
What is the skill set?
Which one?
This person has to be a forensic financial analyst.
Okay.
So it ends up being pretty specific in what this employee's capabilities are. We're now moving forward with a permanent residency, which makes more sense than trying to extend an H-1B visa. And once again, that's coming out of the DA's budget, non-general fund.
Right. And you had trouble filling this vacancy for forensic financial analyst, and you made efforts to do so. Can you, if you know, I know you
That's
got it
correct.
afterwards, but if you can say something about that?
That's correct. You look inside, and actually part of the process that we're about to go through will involve going through and looking to see whether or not there are anyone who fits this description that's here, and we will go through a process which is all part of what's happening, and one of the reasons why we have this attorney to make sure that we're doing everything completely legally.
And the total cost of the attorney, if everything, it maxes out around eight grand, right? Look like, right?
I'm trying to remember right offhand, Mr.
$6,000, another $580 is the filing fee, and approximately $2,000 is for advertising costs.
$8,500, 85, 68 or something. So, and assuming we spent all that money and we're successful in your desire to get the person their status, would that be in the best interest of the DA's office and the taxpayers and save us money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, an exception, I'm fine with it.
I think it's an exception. Is that an exception?
No.
That's not an exception.
Not acceptable.
It's not an exception.
Not an exception.
I'm in. Thank you, Judge.
We've got this vote. We've got a motion and a second.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right.
Judge, a couple of
quick items.
On information number 3, it's the Higher Ed Education Finance Corp. The county judge puts these on when he's going to, just to notify you guys when he signs these. He's going to hold off signing this until they held a second public hearing, then he'll be signing it, so it'll be back on a future agenda.
All right.
And I have a travel for Mr. Zachary Thompson to go to McAllen, Texas for the Zika conference tomorrow. Total cost is $350 coming out of general fund.
And, oops. All right, so that'll take us to, let's go ahead and do our public speakers. Would a bailiff please read the rules of decorum for our public speakers?
All Commissioner Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the state Texas Penal Code Section 3813, 4201, and 42105. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
Ms. Dolores Phillips, address is going to be 1050 North Highway 360, Suite D3401, Grand Prairie, Texas 75050. It was never meant for me to open up to the methodical deception, and each one of you spoke about causing deliberate confusion to the people and transparency. And I wanted to speak about Green Oaks when they unlawfully detained me after being around and set up the meeting. When they released that video, they spliced and diced the video before they released it. They still won't release the video. But it's never been a minority to come forward through Dallas City or Dallas County that didn't go without repercussions by Jim Crow South. So I'm not afraid of the past, present, or ongoing repercussions, blacklisting, or blackmail. But Honorable Jenkins, I wrote to you in 2009 personally, sent you a letter, sent you one by email, and said the connections, the teams, and the networks was also at Mountview College. It's also at Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's at the Office of Civil Rights. So if the teams, connections, and networks that are so humane can become unlawfully humane, what's the purpose? It was never meant for me to open up to the deception to what is literally the teams, connections, and networks of systemic racism and systemic abuse against the people. And all of our connected and networked and teamed up tool is an reality throwing Texas under the bus in America. Now, what I wanted to say was that if this is a longer high cover-up with the corruption down at Dallas Police Department, it was when Tom Leppert was in office, when David Copeland, Chief Copeland, was in office, and it's an ongoing cover-up that makes the crimes allegedly committed by Governor Perry, who was being indicted, and the charges dropped, and Commissioner Price, and Ken Paxton, and makes their alleged crimes seems petty. I'm going to continue to speak. I've asked the United States District Court to assist in Dallas releasing all the video from October 25th, 2013 to show that Corporal Kaplan was the one that was angry. He has connections to UTA and to Green Oaks, and I further allege that it was at least 2 people admitted into Green Oaks to try to attempt to force me to open by mafia, psychological warfare, reverse psychology, and mental manipulation. I was not put on this earth to play around and open up with females while y'all cover up y'all corruption down there at Dallas Police Department. It's also at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And regardless of what the repercussions may be, I will continue to speak because everything that y'all have done showed that original Jim Crow would inevitably raise a system of angry minorities, non-minorities, and women alike who collaborate and cooperate with one another to throw everyone under the bus. Thank you for hearing me.
Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Sheridan.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. 3817 Vanetta Lane. Sorry, had a mistake. I can't remember my own address. Dallas, Texas. Here to speak about a job program for our able-bodied homeless. And in order to address our homeless situation, what is the total number of Dallas homeless? And what's the number of the able-bodied homeless, able-bodied and mind homeless? That's a big question, and you can't get an answer from most of the people that should have the right numbers. Before I begin on this subject, first let me start off by saying good for you, Judge Jenkins, for standing up to a certain commissioner who wants to remove hundreds of black people from Sand Branch. I'm a PE and a water engineer, and there are much lower cost solutions than piping in water. Again, this commission is mostly about money representing the interest of the Dallas Right Citizens Council. I didn't mention his name.
All right.
Okay, I will leave all that out.
Here's the thing, that you don't have to mention someone's name for us to, process of elimination.
Okay.
No, they are. And our rules don't allow anything that is, whatever it is, profane, offensive, personal, and that might be deemed to be personal. So please continue.
I respect that. I respect that, Judge. That's fine. There is such a thing as freedom of speech, but I understand what goes on here and at the City Council. So again, it's been said that insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, and it's been an insane program the way we've been treating our homeless, cruel and unusual punishment. The recent tent city rousting incident has woken up many in Dallas to how bad our homeless situation has become. Now our mayor has created a homeless commission to propagandize to concerned citizens that something will be done to significantly improve Dallas homeless mess. We've had so many meetings over the last 10, 13 years, it's just incredible. Go round and round, and again, the sign is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So according to the National Coalition for the Homeless, quote, individuals experiencing homelessness face obstacles, governments are generally the biggest obstacles, to finding and maintaining employment. Connecting people experiencing homelessness with job training and placement programs is critical to ensure they have the tools they need for long-term stability, success, and happiness. Again, look at what L.A. County is doing. I spoke about that a couple of months ago. L.A. County has taken over responsibility for the homeless situation away from the city, and I've recommended to the county that you take responsibility because you're bearing the major costs in the jail and the health care. And again, a job program for the homeless makes a lot of sense. There's about 3,000 or 4,000 able-bodied homeless of the 10,000. It might even be more than 10. It could be 12. They're all over the city and all over the county. So again, Judge Jenkins and Commissioners, are we going to see more insanity concerning the homeless or the godly Christian way? God is watching us. He's watching me. He's watching all of us. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. All right, our next speaker is Mr. Robert Ciccarelli.
Good morning, everybody. Robert Ciccarelli. Tonight there's a meeting with the homeless community at the library. There's two people here who are going to be moderators or be part of the panel. I just want to let you know that the mentally homeless people that go to the group homes, boarding homes, right now, 80% of the rent is being charged with their room and board. Also, we get for breakfast 1 bowl of cereal and 1 Roman noodle for lunch. Even though Scott Griggs hasn't brought this up, I would certainly hope it be brought up tonight because it's been going on for years, the percentage of the rent being charged to the mentally ill. I would say about 100% of the people that go to these boarding homes are mentally ill. And I would certainly hope that this look into because it's been very absurd taking advantage of the homeless and mentally ill, which tonight should be brought up. I explained to one of the county commissioners this morning that needs to be brought up tonight. I certainly hope it is. I will be there. Also, I've been bringing up about the short-term homeless problem with the homeless. Dallas Morning News says there isn't a solution to it at all. Why it is because they always talk about permanent supportive housing, which takes about a year and a half for people to get into. I've mentioned this to you before, and to the Department of Health and Human Service Director, Ms. Marva Jones. I said this before. She needs to be here. She's got an excellent program. $3,600 a year, Judge Jenkins, to house a homeless person at Salvation Army. The CEO of City Square has a program, $2,600 a year. It needs to be brought up in front of everybody instead of behind closed doors where it's talked about one-on-one. This will be very, very important for everybody to hear this. If not, sir, nothing's going to happen. You have something going on in 2 weeks, more problems with the homeless, nowhere to go. This needs to be brought up, sir. You can rent the DISD buildings out, Parkland for this, but please let her speak and to see if it can be done. There's no other answer. I've lived through it. I've been very critical. I'm very high on this program, sir. I'm tired of bringing this to the county commissioners all the time. So please do what I ask, okay? Also, I've also brought up about the bridge. I don't know how much money was brought in before, $500,000 for the bridge. Why is that being done when the county commissioners did it? It has nothing to do with the homeless. You mentioned it was a good idea, but it's not a good idea. The bridge is lost, okay? So I just hope that the money's being spent the right way, because it's not. One more thing, the cottages, a disaster. It's getting a free pass. 9 months it's been delayed. 5 or 6 different dates. The homeless were asked they can come in, but have been disappointed. It's finally going to open up, but that's what permanent supportive housing is. $8 million for 50 people. It's the biggest waste of money. They've had construction, materials there that hasn't been worked on. That's why it's been delayed, sir. Thank you very much. I'll see everybody tonight.
And our last speaker today is Mr. William Hopkins.
My name is William Hopkins. I signed up for Sand Branch, to talk about Sand Branch, but I just want to make one comment on that, and then I'm going to proceed on what I'm talking about. If Sand Branch, them people would have been white, Judge Jenkins, and them children would have been white. The white people in Dallas wouldn't have tolerated it. The media, the white media wouldn't have tolerated it. The white Dallas Morning News wouldn't have tolerated it. On the strength of them people were black, that we could be here 20 years, 30 years later, and be still talking about giving them people some water. You have to be black to go through something like that. And then you turn around in West Dallas, people dying, children dying. My mothers, my sisters, my brothers dead from lead. My friends, some of my best of friends dead from lead. I gave you the lawsuit, Judge Jenkins. You sit there and let people die. You know the city sued Fred Bauer and Bud law firm, and Lisa Blue is Fred Bauer's wife, and Dorothy Bud, and you took Hillary Clinton over Russell Bud and Lisa Blue, these people's house, and I had asked you, was it given to your campaign, Lisa Blue? They got the money for the lead. The city was so racist, they gave the money to Fred Bauer and Bud law firm, and they paying, and in some kind of way you get money, Judge Jenkins, from Fred Bauer and Bud law firm, and Lisa Blue is Fred's wife, and Dorothy Bud, they paying y'all to let us die in West Dallas. The police department, when my son was robbed with a hunting knife, and I called the police and went to jail, the white police took me to jail after I dialed 911. I asked John to help me. The police told me that, look, William, I want you to leave. I went to the Southwest Station on Illinois. He told me, I want you to leave, because ain't nothing going to happen, William. Nothing's going to be done. Nobody going to say nothing. There's nothing going to be done, William. I just want you to leave. And it's what the white police officer told me about my son being robbed. Now that I find out that you can't say nothing, some guy said, he said assistant attorney, assistant DA told y'all not to say nothing. Could I ask, is he white? The guy that you said that You pointed over there one day and you said, the assistant DA told y'all can't say nothing. Is this guy white that you point over there to? Could I ask that question? Would I be breaking the rules to ask the question? Is the guy that fixed it where y'all can't say nothing about children getting locked up for nothing, blacks getting locked up for nothing, people got killed? The guy got killed in the police station at the county. The police choked him and killed him, and the police got off, and somebody got it fixed where y'all can't say nothing. Is that guy white?
Mr. Hopkins.
Mr. Hopkins, white.
You're out of time.
You're out of
Thank
time. Appreciate it.
All right, and so that concludes our public speakers. We're going to have a Parkland public hearing at 11 a.m. So we are going to recess for 9 or 8 minutes until a little bit before 11 a.m. Thank you. You guys good?
Good. Yeah. saw the fireworks from the air. Yeah, what's coming down?
Well, we are back on, we're back on the record for the public hearing on the budget hearing on Parkland Hospital. Will the Parkland representatives please come forward?
Morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Fred?
Good.
Dr. Cerise, well, please take us through your presentation, if you would.
Okay, sure. Let's see. You all have a hard copy of it?
Yes.
I guess we do, yeah.
This right here?
We have it on
That's
the
it?
agenda, and we have a paper one.
Okay.
Oh, did you want to put it up here?
Well, I don't know if we need to put it up there, but we got it on the
Do, because then I can sign my name over and over again while I'm listening to you. Part of my job is sign my name over and over again. It's one of the harder parts.
All right, I'm not sure I caught that, but, yeah, I've got it. Okay, so, thank you for having us this morning, and I'm going to go over, briefly, just set the stage, talk about where we are at 16, some of our challenges in 17, and then give you our first pass at the numbers. As you know, we'll be back a couple more times. We're still refining the numbers, and that will get it'll get tighter as we go. So, in 16 is a challenge for us. We moved into the new hospital. We're seeing significantly higher volumes than we were seeing in the old place. We are, and for us, our business, when half of our patients are uninsured and another 25 to 30% are on Medicaid, which pays below cost, volume means added cost for us. And so we are in the midst of a reduction in our budget this year. We put out a directive to all of our departments to bring us a 4% reduction plan. We did that about 6 weeks ago or so, a couple of months ago, and we're in the midst of implementing that. We expect to see about a $21 million reduction over 5 months with that plan, and we're going to need that to finish this year within budget. The details there are just various tools that we're using to get at that 4% reduction. We're also working on the revenue side. Our collections are up this year, and we have taken advantage of some more Medicaid supplemental payments. That's what the NAIP and the MPAP is. The NAIP is a managed care add-on that is worth about $32 million for us this year, and the MPAP is the nursing home program, and that's about a $12 million item for us in 16.
If you got a 4% expense reduction over a 5-month period, I want to see those cost centers.
What's that?
I want to see those cost centers. If you can tell staff in 6 weeks, you need $21 million, and you continue to talk about an increase in volume, tell me how you accomplish that.
Okay. I can bring you that. We are tracking that, and so the main drivers of it are our position control. And so every week we have a meeting with the CFO and the chief of HR and our operations chief. And every new position request is considered individually at that meeting. So it's mostly in personnel. But I can supply you some of that detail. Moving on to just some specific challenges throughout the year. In 16, we had pension plan changes, new accounting rules, and a reduced assumption on our return from 8% to 7% has resulted in a $10 million increase in our pension obligations. The new Parkland operating model basically refers to the fact that we took on added costs beyond what we budgeted in the new hospital, mostly related to environmental services and some supply chain added contract labor that we didn't anticipate the demand for. And as I already mentioned, our volume is up significantly. We're up about 15% on discharges this year, about 6% in the outpatient arena.
New Parkland operating model is costing what?
Well, the big ticket items were additional contract labor associated with environmental services and supply chain. That was about $10 million. Pharmacy was about a $5 million addition related to the different model there. We had to implement satellite pharmacies because it's so big.
That's 15 million.
Yeah, and I could get you, I'm sure we can supply greater detail. That's just what I have off the top of my head. As we look to 17, our priorities as we head into the budgeting process, obviously patient care and quality and safety stay at the top of the list. Access is an ongoing challenge for us. The supplemental payment programs, that's uncompensated care, the disproportionate share, hospital program, DSRIP is delivery system reform, incentive payment, that's a waiver payment, and I already mentioned the NAIP and the MPAP. Those are all, I'll talk a little bit more about those in a couple of slides from now, but those are all supplemental Medicaid payment programs that are very important to us since we have such a high percentage of uninsured. We use those funds to cover both the shortfall that Medicaid doesn't pay us in the Medicaid program up to our cost, as well as the cost of the uninsured.
70% of your book is Medicaid.
Roughly 75% is Medicaid and uninsured. And so well, I may as well get into it now with that. As you look at our budget, when 75% of your budget is Medicaid and uninsured, and your volumes are going up, you can't make up the cost for that added volume on anything of significant degree than Medicaid and in the Medicaid program.
But is it any different than it's been in the past?
It's pretty similar, yes. That's the difference this year and going forward is there's just so much more uncertainty in the Medicaid program, because as Medicaid doesn't inflate. In the past, you had the UPL program, for instance, which is the upper payment limit program, where the county could put up match and draw down the difference between what Medicaid pays and what Medicare would have paid. That has changed dramatically now with the onset of managed care and Medicaid. We're much more dependent on these waiver and these supplemental payments, and there's great uncertainty. This year, in fact, we're seeing reductions. We built into the budget a $5 million reduction in the NAEP program and a $7 million reduction in the MPAP program. And we know going forward, the federal government has told the state that they do not want to support these supplemental payments in the way that they're supporting them today. So the state got an extension of the way, that, in Medicaid, you get your payments through rates, and that doesn't come up to cost, and then you get these series of supplemental payments, which mostly are driven through the waiver. As you know, what the federal government has told the state is the state just got an extension of 15 months in the waiver, but the federal government made it clear they do not want to cover costs, what's called Medicaid shortfall, the underpayments in the Medicaid rates, and they don't want to cover costs for people who would be eligible for coverage through a Medicaid expansion. So if they would be eligible through an expansion, CMS is saying cover them that way, don't ask for it for those funds through the waiver. So the big uncertainty, we know there'll be some reductions in 17. The big uncertainty is 18 and what turns out with the waiver negotiations and with the further reduction in the supplemental payments driven by CMS. And this difference in philosophy. Right. Federal government wants coverage through the Medicaid program. The state wants flexibility through the waiver program. And right now, those two are creating great uncertainty, and we can stand to get squeezed in the middle there.
No, you are getting squeezed. But you made an appropriation. You said NAEP and MPAP. You put a $5 million, $7 million reduction. But that does that even broach the dollars in terms of what you have to really consider? What do you have to really consider when you supplement pay? What's at risk?
Between UC and DISH and DSRIP, can you guys give me a number for that? Because those are the three big ones.
Is the grant 50 million?
Well, in fact, if you look at the governmental programs, we have in the budget 160 million in the governmental programs. And so that's our UC and DISH. And then some of the other smaller programs are in that other category.
What they're the number they're getting is the anticipated shortfall for 2017 under those three programs, right?
The difference in 17 is about 24 million under all of those programs. And that includes some DISH reduction, some Medicare reduction, the supplemental payment programs, all in. It's about
all in.
All in.
You got 12 just that you computed for NEP and MAP.
That's right. And then we got some DISH reductions, some Medicare reductions, and some Medicaid proper. 24 is the right number. Is that April?
Let me help with that, or maybe. I don't think there's any surprise to any of us, the first three. The NAP and the MPAP were things that we were told this year that we weren't absolutely sure what happened, although we had a decent indication.
Last month, right. We just got news on those. So this is, it's a changing world. The common theme is the supplemental payments look to be, uncertain. And so these are.
Are you going to get into the NAP and the MPAP a little bit more here, or is this it for today?
Actually, I had some more information in a couple of slides, but I mean, we may as well just cover it here. Basically, if you like me to elaborate on those.
I'm giving it a shot. Let me say this before you start. Press. This would be a good thing to listen to for a story, because the situation that we have right now is people around the state, not us, but other small hospitals and some city hospitals are abusing or allegedly abusing the system, but we clearly are not a part of that. And what we do with these programs are very beneficial to our patient population, and we stand to get squished in the middle of the states and the feds' desire to change up the way this is done, and it could hurt a very good program that's very helpful to our patients. And someone pointing that out in a broader way is helpful. So tell us about that.
Well,
Explain it, Dr.
So
because I don't want to accuse nobody.
We just started, we're in trouble with?
So
We're not in trouble.
The MPAP program is the minimum payment amount program, which is the supplemental nursing home payment program. As you know, about a year ago, more than a year ago, we acquired 12 nursing homes through this program. Using the Medicaid rules will allow a public nursing facility to be paid at the rate that the Medicare would pay for a nursing facility. Medicaid pays below that amount if we put up the match for the difference, and so that's what we do. That has been that has generated about $12 million in revenue for us this year. Now, much of that we actually put right back into the program because we have a heavily uninsured population that has difficulty with placement from the hospital. So we need post-acute care. Before this program, we never had the options for skilled facilities and nursing facilities the way that we do today. And so now we've been able to save, if you will, over 3,000 bed days by getting people transferred out to nursing facilities that we heretofore did not have access to. And so we are very involved with these programs. We have surveyors that go on site and look at the nursing facilities. We have in-services with our infection prevention team, our facilities team, make surveys. And so we're very involved with this. As the judge was alluding to, there is some concern at the federal level, certainly, I don't know, but at the state level, that these arrangements are not all close arrangements like Parkland has done. I mean, we built in quality metrics into our agreements, but some of these arrangements are looser and financial arrangements where you don't have the same amount of involvement between the hospital and the nursing facility. It's worked great for us. It's provided a source of care for uninsured people who would not have that option of post-acute care, but right now it's a program in transition. And so the state is recrafting the program into a quality program, but there's going to be a gap between the ending of the existing program, which is called MPAP, and the beginning of their new program, which will be in the fall of 17. That will be called QIP, Quality Improvement Payment Program, I believe. But that's good. But in the restructuring of that, there's going to be a gap of payment of about 5 months for us. So we only budgeted 7 months of that nursing home program in this year's budget. So
we've got, in layman's terms, we have a situation where others have made side deals with faraway nursing homes that they never manage and never send patients to, and don't improve anybody's patient care so they can divvy up the extra money. And that is putting pressure on all of us in the program to get the program redone. Conversely, at Parkland, think about that Parkland patient population.
You have a report that says that?
You got a lot of media.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Stop the allegation. Do you have a report that says that?
I don't have the specifics of all of the other arrangements, sort of how close they are, how far they are, the involvement.
I want to talk about, the fact that,
But before we get to something else, at Parkland, our patient population needs a place to go when they're ready to leave. And what these nursing homes have provided is a place for them to go so that we can open up another bed for someone who needs acute care while a person with no place to go can have rehab care.
Judge, we know that. We've had 3,000 beds. Hell, we've been and we've visited all that. I'm just trying to figure out, we're getting tagged now. We're getting squeezed like we're getting squeezed and everything else with the program that CMS said, we could do it, number one, authorized it, and is performing as we expected.
That's correct.
Okay, and you're saving 3,000 beds.
That's correct.
Days.
That's correct.
Days.
Yep. So it's been a useful program for us, but now it's in transition. It's active. Those discussions are going on, but we've only budgeted 7 months.
Are you really just worried about the 5 months lag in term, or are you concerned beyond that?
I'm concerned beyond that. Okay. I expect there to be a program beyond that, but the rules are changing. And so I don't know what that program's going to look like for us. I don't know what the benefit's going to be for us there. So I would expect to have to do another assessment and then make a calculation about how we participate in the program going forward.
How does that impact the 12 that we are now engaged with?
We're going to remain engaged with those 12. We anticipate, we hope to continue to participate in the program. That's where we are at this point. But we have to wait and see what the new rules are going to look like.
Have we published our experience with regards to this program?
No, sir.
Why? We got all this other external, we always publishing everything else. It doesn't seem to say much or nothing. If you got a program and you've already said you're saving 3,000 bed days, and I think the last time I asked you about a cost of a bed day, I think you were around $1,500 something.
Yep.
Why are we not publishing that?
Well, we've shared it with CMS, we've shared it with the state.
And so CMS and the state are aware of their program, and I've discussed this program with both the acting director of CMS, Vicki Wachino, whatever Vicki's title is right now, I guess she's CMS director, and the former HHSC person, but they're determining what they're doing, but I think there is a recognition at other levels that what Parkland is doing is a good thing, but there's concerns about other things. But it's probably not something that we can talk about in great detail about what other people are doing and what they're concerned about.
I want to talk about what Parkland's doing.
And Mike reminded me that my letter to CMS on this was shared with the Dallas News, and they are apparently doing an article on this, or doing a story.
Oh, okay, so they're already aware of it.
So you didn't send it to us, though?
Letter, I can send that to you today.
Yeah, that's what I say, but you didn't send it to me. Okay. Okay. Okay, continue.
Thank you, Mike, if you can send it to us.
All right. So Other priorities for 17, it'll be our fourth of 5 years in the corporate integrity agreement, so we will continue to focus on compliance with that agreement. We move into the new clinic building.
And how would you, you want to move a little fast. With the CIA, you said this is your fourth of your fifth year?
That's correct.
Okay. And how do you assess that and where you are?
Well, we completed 3 years. We are in full compliance with the corporate integrity agreement. We had a visit from the OIG in the course of the third year, I believe. So that oversight is ongoing, and we're in compliance with the agreement.
And there are no issues?
Well, there's always issues, but, we always have stuff that we're continuing to work on. But we're in compliance with the agreement, so we're where we need to be right now.
And you published that? They've published that?
No, but these reports are not published. I mean, these are reports that are.
Is A&M?
Yeah, A&M's still the person that oversees it.
Well, A&M's got some issues, so I mean, I want us to be. You always talking about being some transparent. Be transparent. Well, I want them to tell me one thing, and then I'll, if you want me to reveal some other information, I will. I'm asking.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, Commissioner, A&M always has some issues. A&M is with us for 5 years, and they're going to have issues every year. They do an annual report. We have not gotten their annual report for year 3 yet. Some of us have seen various forms of drafts, but we have not gotten their third-year annual report. I expect there to be a series of recommendations, as there have been in the first 2 years, and we expect to continue to work with them to satisfy those. So
Are there any concerns?
I'm not concerned about where we are.
So when that report comes out, you'll be able to share that?
That report, I'd need to check and see, because what I'm recalling is that's underprivileged, so it certainly is not a public report, and I just have to see how widely that gets shared. But I can tell you, again, we'll do it the same way we've done the past couple of years, and to the extent that we can share, we'll share.
But I think some of us are, and I think I sent you a letter, I think some of us are more concerned about it, where you are now, because you're approaching the 5-year mark, you want to get the third. There's no way for us to vet where you are.
Yeah, well, like I said, the themes that you'll see that, in our conversations with A&M is exactly what you're talking about. That is, how do you transition to sustaining the improvements that have been made when A&M is out of the picture, beyond year 5 of the corporate integrity agreement, and that'll be a major point of focus for us in the next couple of years, is, making sure that infrastructure that has been built and put in place gets sustained. As I said, you're going to see, we've seen a list of recommendations every year, and we expect to continue to see that, and we expect to continue to work through.
Well, you can see them, Doctor, but we will not. Are you progressing on them? You can see, you can see all the recommendations in the world. That's what it is.
I don't think there's any question. There's been incredible amount of progress at Parkland over the past 5 years. Whether it's A&M reviewing, whether it's the other independent reviewers on the compliance side or on the quality side, there have been significant improvements, and those have been well documented. We just had Joint Commission at the place this past year. We got a very good report from Joint Commission. As you know, the Leapfrog Group, which is an independent group, named as one of the top 98 hospitals in the country for quality and safety this year. I mean, there's been significant improvement. The A&M is going to continue to push us, and we'll continue to have recommendations. But I think, I know they would agree it's a safer place.
Leapfrog doesn't count. You can do all that publish you want to. A&M counts. I want to see the A&M report third year. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, moving on. Anderson Clinic is the clinic, the new clinic that opens in January. That'll be a focus for us this year. And then the strategic plan is something that It's not a specific item, but it kind of permeates all of the issues here. For 17, our major challenges are these. I mentioned already the changes to the NAIP and the impact program. In our 16 budget, we have $44 million in contributions from our foundation. That will not be in the 17 budget. That's the last major contribution on the capital campaign.
44 million that was stripped?
No, it was the last, that the capital funding came in over a series of years, and that was the last major piece of that $150 million.
Okay, so that,
So is there any commitment for any additional funding to be coming from the foundation, the Parkland?
There is, but we're not including that in our budget. So, I mean, we have expectations that the foundation is going to continue to raise dollars, but we haven't plugged those in as a budget number. And it won't be anywhere in that same range of 44 million. So we don't feel like and if it comes to us, it won't come to us as operating dollars, so we didn't build it in.
And that ballpark guess will be at a second budget hearing, or you'll get us a number later?
I can bring you an estimate for the foundation, but as I said, that won't be, it won't be included in our operating budget.
that ain't our problem, capital ain't our problem. Go ahead.
Yep. So our days cash will be at its low point probably in November this year at less than 1 month. Our payer mix, we've talked about. The labor market is a real competitive issue for us. We have to keep up with the rest of the hospital market out there, and it's a growing competitive labor market now, and so that gets reflected in wages. Pharmacy, the specialty
But you
drug.
got plugged in 2% across the board, 2%.
That's later in the presentation.
Yes, but you're correct. We have $10 million in market adjustments plugged into the budget. Pharmacy, we've estimated a 10% increase related to drug prices. We talked about the corporate integrity, there are expenses associated with that agreement. We talked about demand for services and access in the Anderson Clinic. So those are going to be.
What was the expense that you've appropriated for the CIA?
That, this past year, what our cost report group does is it calculates time for all of the employees that are dedicated to that, because those costs can't be eligible for any federal matching program, and that's about $8.5 million. Contracts, consultants, personnel costs.
This year or cumulative?
This current year.
When you refer to the Anderson Clinic, what is that?
That's the new, remember in the hospital complex, there was the clinic that was on the backside between the hospital and the DART line that was not finished at the same time as the hospital, so it comes online in January. And then we'll move a significant part of our clinic operations from the current, the old Parkland site across the street to the new clinic space. This touches on our earlier discussion, and so I don't think I need to dwell on this any further, unless you want me to.
No.
We'll go on to our budget assumptions for 17. So this is what we built in to the budget on the expense side: a 2% merit increase, 2% incentive-based increase. That was a change that we put in this year to try to try to reconcile the fact that we took out the executive incentive plan that has been in the budget, or has been in discussion for a number of years. We haven't paid it, certainly since I've been here. And there's been a desire, certainly among our board, to have some incentive plan in place. And so what we proposed and agreed upon was a broad-based 2% across the entire employee base. Common measures, we would come up with 4 or 5 measures for
Excluding
everybody.
executives.
Everybody, 10,000 plus employees, evenly.
That's
I will
the
not
point.
support that, and I already told you.
Arose by any other, never mind, gotcha.
So this is, again, this is what's built into our, when we get to the money
Dollars,
slide, each one of those 2% is 17 million. So 17 million merit, 17 million incentive base, and 10 million in a market adjustments to to address the wage issues that I talked about earlier. And then we have adjusted the employee contribution to the pension plan by 1%, going up from 4.5% to 5.5%. On the supply side, you can see 2 to 3% increases there. On drugs, 10% increase, and we're still, the Anderson Clinic operations are captured in a number of different cost reports, and we're still working on kind of identifying and isolating those costs to be able to quantify that for you.
I thought 340 gave you some relief.
It does give us relief, but there are changes going on to that program as well that makes it tougher to access some of the drugs through the 340B program. And so we're, again, everything on the federal level, Medicaid, federal rulemaking, things are getting tougher for us. And
so how's it changed? I mean, in other words, give us numbers. I mean, those of us who deal with this, as I said, I mean, maybe most of the court members would know, but I know 340 is like it's supposed to give you relief. So if it's changing, what's the impact?
We can bring you a number for what we built into the budget for a 340B impact. The impact, the new costs of specialty drugs and volume, all of that factors into about a 10% increase in our pharmacy program, but I'll bring you the breakdown.
So when you said 10 million, were you also including
10%?
You said, I thought you said 10 million. Oh, 10%.
On the market adjustments for salaries, I said 10 million.
Oh, no, I got that.
Pharmacy, 10%. Sorry, if I said million, I meant percent.
Okay. But what does that represent? 10%. What does that represent? What's your pharmacy budget?
John, you got it. Yeah, so it's going to be about 10. It'd be about 10 million because pharmacy budget's about 100 million.
Okay, so are you testing me to see if I'm hearing right or what? Yeah, okay. Go on. Continue. It's 10 million. Gotcha. That's what I wrote. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. On the revenue side, we built in a 5% price increase. Now, that's on our commercial business, which is about 8% of our overall business. That's a 5% price increase. I talked about the reductions in Medicare and Medicaid. We've already covered that. And we're modeling a 7.5% increase in tax revenues. Obviously, that depends on how that, on your decisions there, but that's what we've got built into our model right now.
And 7.5 produces what for you?
That's about 40 million. 7.5%, the increase is roughly 40 million, right?
So you got, at 7.5, you're at 40 million?
Correct. Okay. So the next slide just talk about our process that what you're about to see. These are estimates. Obviously, we're still working that. We're working with our board. We'll go to our Budget and Finance Committee again. We've discussed with the committee once. It'll go to our committee in July, and for another review before we come back to you. And John's team is still working on the revenue analysis. I talked about a lot of the demands and the challenges. We are working on some potential solutions. Unfortunately, some of these are going to be more of FY18 solutions and 17 solutions. Medicaid expansion, we don't expect that to happen, so we're not building in expectations of that, but that obviously, given our patient population, would address a number of these issues we talked about. The hospital provider participation fee is something that several smaller counties did last legislative session, and that is a way for the hospital industry itself to generate matching revenue that would then come back to the group as a whole and enhance Medicaid rates. So essentially what happens is the entity, whether it's a state or a county entity, would tax the providers, and with that fee, then the transfer to the state, they would use that in the Medicaid program, and then Medicaid rates could be raised closer to cost. And so it's a way of addressing Medicaid rates without relying on state general revenue.
And your projection on that HPP fee is what?
We haven't done modeling on that. We're quite a ways away from this. This would have to be addressed in the legislative session that starts in January. So it would not be a 17 solution for us. This would be an 18.
So they have to a specific hospital? I thought there were some hospitals already doing it.
There were some smaller counties did this in the last legislative session. Correct.
I thought Bear County was doing it.
Bear County does. I believe they had one passed, but they haven't applied it, so they're not using it.
For the bed tax.
Talking about the HPP. You do what?
Yeah, they did I think they passed it in Bear County, but they haven't applied it. They also, the Health Connect piece that Mike's talking about, they are doing, and I'll get to that in a second. So the provider fee is one thing. Again, that's more of an 18 solution if that gets done, and we've got work to do between now and then to...
Doctor, that's known as the bed tax.
That's correct. It's a, Medicaid calls it a provider fee.
Right. It's really a provider fee, it's not really a tax.
Well, you're taxing per bed. I mean, you're paying a tax on per each bed. Isn't that correct? That's the way it was set up.
That's right. It's assessed as a percent of revenue. It's assessed as a percent of revenue.
A tax is spread across the 2.5 million people. A fee is placed on each patient in the hospital, and this would be in hospitals like Baylor, not Parkland.
No, it'd be in all of them.
It's a fee. Like 40 states do this. Texas does this in their developmental disability programs right now with some of those providers. And it is a way, and because we don't have a uniform system of coverage and it's a piecemeal system, it's a way for providers to assess their rates where the states have not. And so when your Medicaid rate is below your cost, significantly below your cost, and the state general revenue is not there to draw the federal share to bring it up to cost, the providers essentially agree that it makes sense to assess this fee on themselves, and with that fee, then the state can raise their rates. And so, you assess me a fee of $1, you increase my rates $2. It's not that straightforward, but in aggregate, that's how it works. So, as I said, it only works when pretty much the industry agrees that it, and you're at the point now in the Medicaid program in the state where you're so far below cost, and there's not a anticipation that state general revenue is going to get you up to cost. In a place like Dallas County, when you have 1 million people who are either uninsured or on Medicaid, if that program is not keeping up, in a place like Parkland, your only move is to reduce the number of services that you provide. So that's that program. The waiver, we're going to be working with the state and with CMS to try to identify ways within the waiver negotiation for the new waiver that would start in 18 to be able to capture some of those costs for the uninsured business that we're doing now. When CMS has put the state on notice that for those individuals who are eligible for Medicaid will not be eligible for coverage during the waiver, through the waiver, we're hoping to be able to present some models to the state and the federal government that shows that we are providing a system of care for those individuals, and therefore hope that we can get some federal share to match with our county funds to do that. Which leads me to the Parkland Health Connect, which is a program that Bear County is doing now and that Harris County is doing now, and that is essentially for people, uninsured people using the hospital, and it's all scaled to income. What we would propose is people who are above 100% of the federal poverty level, who are uninsured, would pay a monthly fee to be able to access ongoing access services at Parkland. Right now, those individuals are required to purchase insurance through the insurance exchange. If they're not doing that, they'll get a federal penalty. What we're going to ask, and we're putting this program together right now, but we would identify that group and assign a monthly fee that would be similar to probably a silver or bronze plan through the exchange, but it wouldn't be insurance, but it would be an expectation that they pay for the services at Parkland at a level that they don't pay today. It may encourage people to go into the exchange who are eligible, because that's a lot of the people you'd be targeting would be people who are eligible for the exchange, for a federal subsidy in the exchange, that are not taking advantage of it. But we are putting that program together. Maybe by the next time I talk to you, I'll have some more details on it. But it's an attempt to both move people onto the exchange and to gain some reimbursement for the care we're doing for people who are eligible or who have some income and could participate.
Well, what has been the experience in Barrett County and Harris County with this program?
Baylor's been doing it for the longest period of time, and it's been a successful program for them.
Well,
and I don't have the numbers. I don't have the numbers for you. Harris County, in my conversation with them, and they've done it just for a couple of years, they estimate a $17 million benefit to them, which is a combination of the premiums paid and also cost avoided by, after a period of time when people don't pay their premiums, they're not eligible for elective services. And so that combination has been a $17 million issue for Harris. So it's not the kind of thing that's going to close our budget gap, but it does start to address the issue of people who are eligible for coverage through the exchange, not buying in and just relying on Parkland for free services.
Well, okay, and I appreciate all of that. At the end of the day, right now you got $100 million plus.
That's right.
Gap. I don't even see anything close to being able to broach you closing that gap.
That program will not do it.
Oh, I know. I didn't expect it to. I don't see okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to, we have to attack that, $500,000 here, a couple of million here, 100,000 here. I mean, that's going to be the approach to try to get that done. The same thing we're doing this year to finish the budget, to finish the year with within budget.
The last quartile of the year, this year, you're talking about $21 million 6 weeks ago, and that's a fifth of what you're talking about in your deficit.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're going to have to do this with that program and 100 other initiatives. I mean, we're looking at everything that we do so that we can try to meet the access demands. But you're right, when 75% of your business is Medicaid and that payer is reducing what you're going to get paid, then you've got to try to squeeze out savings wherever you can if you want to maintain services. And that's what we're doing.
At some point, you're going to have to cut services.
That's what, yes, I expect, if yes. I mean, that's a distinct possibility in this budget year, given where we are right now.
And you did bring me that request that I've asked for the last 2 or 3 years about operations on the west side of the street.
Which request is that?
The old Parkland building.
The cost to operate at the old Parkland site?
Yes. She did what? Okay.
That goes to the whole court.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because like I said, I've only been asking for it for the last, since before y'all built the bridge, the Golden Arch. Okay. Anyway.
This looks at our volume trend. You can see for 16, this adjusted patient days is a cumulative number. It's a calculation that includes our inpatient days plus outpatient activity. So it's a summary measure. To break this down, like I said, this year our discharges are up 15%, our ER visits are up 5%, surgeries are up 10%. So there's a significant.
Are you in fact concretizing a plan to cut services?
I'm sorry?
Are you in fact assembling a plan to cut services?
we certainly didn't, that's the last thing I want to do is cut services.
I got that. But my point is, in your fallback position, are you assembling a plan to cut services? See, when you talk about ER, I mean, I don't know if you can cut ER, but if you're going to cut, I'd like to know where you would begin to talk about cutting services.
Yeah, as we get further along, as you know, the last couple of years when I came to you, the first presentation, we had a sizable deficit in the budget at that point in time, and going back to work, we reduced that number, and that's our goal here as well, is to continue to work this number. Before we cut any services, we're going to do whatever we can to reduce throughout the organization so that we don't have to do that. And that's the plan we're working on now. So I'm not going to lead with closing services, reducing services. Might we get there? We may be forced to, but that's not where we are right now.
Well, as I look at your reserves, they continue to go down.
Right, and that's correct. And what you've seen with our cash is, and that's a result of the capital spending on the hospital. And so we expect that now to flatten out, but it's flattening out at a low number. And so, but that reduction, it's cyclical. As you get your tax revenue, it goes up, and then you spend it during the year. So it goes like this, but over the years it's done that, and now it's going to level out. But this was the capital spend on the hospital.
The $250 million?
But yes. So we're modeling basically flat on our volumes. And as I've explained to you before, that's because we will just have to set a number and stop. If we open new clinics, if we open new beds, we could fill them because there's that kind of demand. But we're modeling is to not do that, just to try to keep our service level at the level we have it today. Obviously, that's by some services that'll fluctuate, but in aggregate, we're modeling the same level we're at this year. And then this is where we are currently in our projections, and as Commissioner Price has already referenced, at this point, on our total net income is a $101 million deficit. We are, as I said, we're early in the process now. We've met with all of our departments. We've gotten, we've done all of our initial round of estimates, and now we're going back and reworking all of these numbers. The major differences you see here, contributing to that is the $44 million in foundation expenses or contributions. That was in 16. That's not in 17. There's about $24 million in the Medicare and Medicaid reductions that we see change from 16 to 17. A major item here, which existed in 16, but that we'll be dealing with is the depreciation number, $105 million in depreciation. That's a big nut to crack, and so that that's going to be a major issue for us as well.
And that's $105 million.
$105 million on associated with the new construction. And then, as I mentioned, the big drivers on the expense side is in salaries. I talked to you about the modeling we did there, and that's obviously something that we're going to have to continue to look at, whether we can actually afford to do the things that we model in the budget the first round.
But I want to go back. The $100 million includes the increased value. It's 7.5%. 7.5%.
That includes the 7.5%. Correct.
7.5% with $100 million.
Correct.
And $105 million of depreciation.
Correct.
Yeah, but you keep harping on depreciation. You can continue to harp on that, but the fact of the matter is that the $105 million depreciation doesn't give me. This is with 7.5% plugged in, and with the talks around this, this bench. With regards to that, and the ones that, you've led, hell, not only would they have to close some services and be paring down some services, they had to close part of the dadgum hospital.
Are you contemplating closing part of the hospital or shutting down services in the next fiscal year?
That's not where, that's not where we are right now.
He's not contemplating. I'm just talking about what you have continued to forth from this bill. At 7.5%, there's still $100 million in the lurch. At 7.5%, that's increased value.
So at the effective rate, you'd be 141 million.
Correct.
And at 10% increase in tax burden, you'd be at 90 million, right?
Right.
So and again, if we believe that that $105 million is money out of our pocket, then we got a real problem. But, and I appreciate accounting, but I think it's important for the public to understand, we are not talking about dramatically changing services at Parkland. Whether it's 7.5% or 9% or 10% increased tax burden, it's going to be either the largest increase in tax burden in the history of Dallas County,
Let's talk about Parkland.
or it's going to be in the top 4 or 5.
Let's talk about Parkland,
That,
please.
we are talking about that. That's what the commissioner was talking about, is this 7.5% or 9%. So,
Or effective rate.
Or effective rate.
That's on the table, too.
And whatever it is, we're not talking about cutting services or turning people away.
Well,
He's saying that, Judge.
They
Yeah, you can't have it both ways.
And it depends on what you call dramatically, because what might be dramatically is, dermatologists, right, Dr. Seuss? We have a big challenge with dermatologists at Parkland. You take some of them out, that's dramatic.
Okay, let me, I've got 2 more slides to wrap up. In terms of 3 more slides, this one just looks at our debt financing and makes the point that we are within our capacity here to meet the debt financing for 17. We're within our the approved authority. Next one just talks about where we are on the budget status. We've completed our first round of reviews. We're still working on looking at our volumes, our staffing reconciliations, and net revenue analysis. That work is ongoing. And then this is the schedule for future presentations.
Good job.
Well, I just want to say, Dr. Cerise, being the first preliminary draft for the budget, I think the word is uncertainty. And we do know that one of the things that some of the programs that you're working on, like Health Connect, the new, program with nursing homes, are great initiatives, are good initiatives. I know exactly what you meant when you say you're going to look in all different areas to be able to close this gap. Preliminary budgets usually look like this. Hopefully the foundation, we will have the number. They're always being kind to Parkland, and hopefully they will continue to do that.
But that's capital.
That's capital, but it's still, Commissioner, we need all that we can get. And of course, based on the fact that 70% of the Medicaid, 70-75% of our population are Medicaid, and with all the regulations and with all the cuts that have been going on, as someone that sees Medicaid patients as well, I feel, I see the new guidelines, the new recommendations, less money, and more time on the phone trying to collect. So with that being said, let's face it, we have followed all the recommendations for the CIA agreement, and we continue to work with all the different entities that we have to work. One of the things that, I really commend you is for all the new implementations, thinking out of the box. Now, I'm going to be very, very honest with you, and I told you this already. I will support the 2% merit increase for the Parkland workforce, but I will not support the ones for the executive team. I know we haven't done it yet. I hope that this year, with the numbers that we're seeing, we'll continue to do that. $17 million is a lot of money, and hopefully we can put that as well in the budget. Thank you.
But I want to be real clear. The $100 million is operation.
Yeah.
Okay, not capital.
Gotcha.
Not capital, and there's the difference.
And Doctor, we've discussed this in court, and you and I have discussed it, but when you look at even talking about the 7.5% for Parkland, the senior citizens tax freeze was not passed with Parkland. It was just passed with the county. So those are some real dollars. When you talk our senior citizens, when they get that tax bump, you know, the judge is recommending a 7.5% increase on the county side, and if there's a 7.5% increase on this side, then that's a 15% increase overall. 7.5. I mean that's increasing. If you're not a senior citizen, if you are a senior citizen, then you get a 7.5% increase on the Parkland side. So that can have a real impact because most of the senior citizens are not getting 7.5% increase from Social Security. And then if you look at someone that's not a senior citizen, very few people are getting a 15% increase in their wages. So that's going to be driving a lot towards what I do on the budget this year. And I understand the predicament, but some things have got to start aligning financially, and it has to be pared down to where we have a sustainable model. I mean, we're still sitting out there how many years into Obamacare, and we're still uncertain about what's taking place.
There's no doubt, if you look at our budget, the one piece that inflates is the county funds, but with Medicaid as our primary payer, if when that doesn't inflate, then it puts pressure on the rest of the system. I mean, you know, if you've got a business that has a fair number of commercial payers, then you can negotiate, which happens, you negotiate those managed care rates to go up, cover your costs. But when the Medicaid program doesn't keep up with your costs, then it's, and as you know, the state relies heavily on the 6 big counties for match for that Medicaid program.
Look, and I know the word President Obama just slipped out of his mouth, but the fact of the matter is Texas is leaving $100 million on the table every month.
And I would agree with that if the federal government didn't have the ability through the waiver to provide for vouchers or other things. There's ways that the federal government, you know, it's a standoff. I understand that between the state and the federal government.
But we're caught in the law.
I totally understand that. Yeah. But by the same token, if we're there, we're there. You still have to work within that arena. That's the arena that you're in. And the business model that we have ought to correspond to what we can afford, not to what we want to afford or should afford. It's going to be to what we afford. All of the people that are getting, you know, and I can't wait to see what Dr. Sharice brings back in, but, you know, when we're talking about modeling some stuff for people that don't have insurance on the bronze and the silver and all those plans, all you're doing is shoring up Obamacare. That's all that really is, because the people that really can't afford, we're sort of subsidizing them. So you're asking the taxpayers to not only pay their increase in medical costs, but also to subsidize others on top of the taxes that they're paying.
But at the end of the day, you still have to figure out what is your income, what are your expenses, and how you're going to
That's the business
meet
model. Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
And so the speculation of it, you know, what percentages it's going to be and all that, I would say let us wait until we have some real numbers to do that. Mm-hmm. And what you're doing at the moment is anticipating, okay, if it's at the variety of different levels, what are some of our options? What are some of the better options to present as much of the services as possible within a balanced system?
That's the work we're doing.
But I hear everybody keep talking about Casper. And right now, he's not a friendly ghost. He's 7.5%. Okay, I mean, even with a 7.5% model, I hear what Commissioner Cantrell said. But even with a 7.5% model, based even on that, you've got to entertain reduction in services.
Listen, you're right. We are modeling, in addition to modeling, all of our models of how do we live within budget. Basically, the models are going to include, do you fully fund depreciation? How much can you get out of squeezing your FTEs? What services would you reduce, and what value is, what could you extract in terms of savings?
What's your turnover rate?
So our turnover rate is now, I believe, at 15% or so. It's been dropping steadily over the past year.
So you're at the national average,
Yeah, that's probably about right, yes.
or is there
13,
something
15.
special in hospitals?
Yeah. I could bring
The
you that.
national average is 15%.
Yeah, we were higher than that about a year ago, but that's come down.
Well, thank you for a good presentation and for all the work that y'all are doing. Really appreciate your team.
Okay, thank you, guys.
But I don't want you to go to sleep tonight and think that, but I think what you've heard here is there definitely is no tax increase based on moving from the percentages and everything.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now the federal tax, those Dallas County taxpayers are paying for it.
We get money off it. We'll take care of it.
But it's still showing up. It's showing up.
I see what you're
Using
saying.
Dallas County taxpayers to shore it up.
So that's got us going to closed session. All right, Matt, we'll now adjourn for our closed session of Chapter 551 of the Government Code to consider matters as previously posted. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in a subsequent open session. No action necessary as per the closed session. Court stands adjourned.
Yes, sir.
All right.